Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Des Moines. We're here for the third and final round of the 2022 TrueBank Des Moines Challenge. Just outside of Des Moines in Indianola at Pickard Park. Today, the stage has been set for this woman, Kristen Tatar, a dominant competitor, not only this year, but for the last couple of years, as she's been leading the FPO field in just about every statistic you could ask for. However, there's going to be a challenge today. We're going to see if none other than a fellow European competitor in Evelina can possibly keep up with her or surpass her. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, joined alongside four-time world champion and Hall of Famer Val Jenkins. And Val, I'll throw that question over to you. 4-stroke deficit for Evelina against one of the most consistent and solid players in the world in Kristen Tatar. What is she going to need to do to get past her?
Well, do what she did yesterday. I mean, what Evelina was able to do in the crazy windy conditions that we had yesterday, put the pressure on Kristen. Kristen was doubting herself when the wind started to pick up, and Evelina creeped in. At one point, she was within a couple strokes, 2 strokes within Kristen, and there was a point in the first round where we thought Kristen was just going to be untouchable. I mean, she was looking at birdie for every single hole. And for Evelina yesterday, I mean, she didn't give up, and she creeped in on that lead, and she could do it again today.
Well, we're seeing Kristen Tatar. This is her on hole number 2, setting herself up in a great position off of the drive and then going to the forehand. And she's talked about this. She's had an elbow injury over the last few months, and she said that throwing a forehand doesn't provide her discomfort. However, throwing a backhand does, and that's something that's not common within the disc golf community when we hear of injuries. So Kristen Tatar not afraid to rely on the forehand when needed. And really, as you said, Val, the story of the day yesterday, Evelina, she came into the round 6 strokes behind, and when it was all said and done, she ended up chipping away just 2 of those, but she got within 2, and that was what really let us know that there was going to be a battle on hand, and she's going to have to do it again today.
Yeah, and the hole that we just saw previously, that was Evelina with a birdie putt to take 2 strokes away from Kristen Tatar. So the pressure putts are looking good for Evelina, but it's always going to be a topic of conversation for us. You know, she is such a talented person, but can she keep her mind in it?
And some stats to throw at you is when these two have gone head-to-head in individual rounds, Evelina has the upper hand, 37 and 29 with 11 ties, but 37 and 29 against Kristen. And in 20 out of those 77 rounds, she's managed to beat Kristen by 4 or more. So we'll see. That's exactly what she's going to need to do if she wants to take down today's title. See Kat Murch getting herself ready to go, along with Katrina Allen.
And there's definitely a possibility to see these players moving up and creeping their way into 3rd place. Macy Valadiaz is at 3 under. Paige Pierce in 4th place at 2 under. So there is some movement that can certainly happen, and we know how tense a lead card could be. So a chase card always has a potential.
Heyday Line also out there. She's ready to go. And Jessica Weiss, who had one of the best rounds of the FPO division yesterday. Right here on our chase card, Jessica Weiss, of course, the runner-up competitor last year in Missy Gannon. For inbounds drives here on hole number 1. Looks like we're going to have a beautiful Sunday out here at Pickard Park in Indianola, Indiana, or Indianola, Des Moines, Iowa area, I should say. It's been a long weekend here as our competitors have been out there challenged by the conditions, but today it's going to be great. 65 degrees, humidity at 82%, the wind consistent right around 10 miles an hour. All thanks to our friends over at Canna for the current conditions. Right now on the ground, we've got Brian Earhart along with the PDGA's own Grant Zellner. Take it away, guys.
It is a chilly, misty morning in Indianola, Iowa. We stand on the tee of hole 1 at Pickard Park. Final round. Grant Zellner with the PDGA standing right beside me here. We normally highlight the greater surrounding area of these tournaments. The tournament itself is called the Des Moines Challenge, but really, we're in a different place.
Well, yeah, we're in Indianola, and we like to show a little bit of love and thanks, really, to the smaller communities. They're often on the edge of bigger communities because that's where a lot of the volunteers come from. That's where a lot of the patrons, the spectators come from. And this is a community that has absolutely showed up. It loves disc golf. There are permanent disc golf baskets in the yard of the hotel that I'm staying in. The restaurants that got bombarded during the weather delay the other day with spectators and players and staff did a great job of taking care of us. So just another round of thank yous goes out to volunteers and to the community here of Indianola and really the greater Des Moines area, which also sent so many volunteers and spectators down to our area. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, and thanks to the volunteers and staff that have been out here all week throughout the chaos that's been the weather delays and whatnot. The concert last night with Corey Wong and Kevin Jones was a huge success. Fantastic spectator and player experience out here. We're going to send it out to you in the booth.
Appreciate that, guys. Looking forward, as we said, to our final round. And going with our own branding is the Merchinator. Cat Merch ready to go, and she's standing down. But first we're going to have Jessica Weiss, and I wanted to touch on Jessica's press conference from the other day. She said she had multiple hand surgery, as in some minor surgery on both of her hands in the last few weeks. How often do you hear that, Val?
I don't think I've ever heard that, but the fact that she recovered and she's able to be out here playing in such a short time frame before Worlds, to me that's a little bit risky to know that you're going to be able to bounce back so quickly. But glad to see Jessica out here playing well and looking like she's healing back quickly.
As she had talked about in the past, when she had an injury with her right hand or her right arm, she would then sometimes play left-handed, and she's gotten more comfortable with that throughout time. And this time she said, well, no, I had surgery on both of my hands, so I wasn't able to play at all. She took a couple of weeks off. So great to see her out here. And here she is on the chase card.
The smart play from Katrina to go with the forehand, using all that space, keeping away from that clump of trees where we see a lot of players. It just seems to trap the players, and it's really difficult to putt out of there, but she'll have a great look at birdie.
And we're seeing Kristen Tatar along with her significant other, Silver Lott. Kristen has not finished worse than third place this entire season. In fact, the only time in the last 3 years where she's finished worse was at the World Championships, where she took 5th place last year in 2021. So nothing but podium finishes for that woman, and that's why I opened the show talking about her consistency. And sometimes she even gets in these little routes of just dominance where she seems completely untouchable. And Val, that's what you said. In round number 1, she picked up 10 birdies. She had a single bogey and seemed completely unstoppable at this event.
And on that graphic bar, you can see the event she won this year, Jonesboro and DDO. And I gotta say that this course lays out pretty similarly to those two courses.
Also certainly some confidence as she'll go into the World Championships in a few days. And for a very subtle slope, that certainly got up and rolled more than you would have thought it would. Birch's par attempt is short.
We were taking a look at the scores that were put up last year, and Missy Gannon taking down her first Disc Golf Pro Tour win. She ended up winning after 2 rounds. There was 1 round canceled because of weather. She ended up winning with a 5-down score. There's been some changes over this last year on this course, and it's making it very scoreable for the competitors.
Line A in.
And for the fact that Kristen Tatar was able to get 10 birdies in round 1, it tells you the whole story.
As you also had mentioned, she had 10 birdies. She had looks at 17 baskets for birdie. That was maybe even more impressive. Katrina Allen is on the board here in round number 3.
And if any of you missed round 1, that is definitely something to go back. You got to take a look at that coverage. Not only will you catch that 9 under from Kristen Tatar, but Katrina Allen just put on a showcase from everywhere. Anytime she could see the basket, she was making the putt.
Murch will tap in for bogey. Slow start for her, but as we know, everyone is playing for this beautiful trophy in Indianola. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors.
The True Bank Des Moines Challenge is presented by Discraft, the worldwide leader in disc sports.
Welcome to Emporia, home of the 2022 PDGA Professional Disc Golf World Championships. Emporia is excited to have Worlds back right here in the disc golf capital of the world. Disc golf is a pretty big deal in Emporia, and the DD Pro Shop can serve all your disc golf needs. And you can play disc golf too. We have several 18 and 9-hole courses in the area. You could play any time of the day and then a short drive to watch Worlds. So plan your trip and experience history firsthand. See you in August.
Hello, my name is Keith Welling. I am the CEO of True Bank. We have 8 convenient locations in central Iowa for your service, with our main headquarters here in Indianola.
We have a wonderful staff here to serve you with any financial need. We have a dedication to customer service that we are very proud of.
It is important to help our communities thrive. True Bank is proud to donate year after year to local organizations and events.
Hi guys, Ricky Wysocki here. We are starting the Saki Bomb Foundation. The main goal for me is to really give back to the sport, start kids from a young age, and expose them to the great sport of disc golf that we all love. We got a website going, sakibombfoundation.org. There's lots of different things you can do on the website. I've heard the older generation of disc golfers saying, I wish I would have started disc golf when I was younger, and now I'm able to start these kids off at a young age through my foundation. It really means a lot to me, and it means a lot for the sport. To donate and go to the website, SakiBombFoundation.org.
We are dedicated to the game. Developing technology and providing data that helps you take the next step. Whether it's your next training session, league night, or major. Because we believe the best way to grow the sport is to push the sport. And the best way to do that is together. We're focused on the future to make that happen.
Most people just see a disc. At Discraft, we see over 40 years of innovation, driven by passion, consistency that inspires talent, built on a foundation, designed for success. Over 4 decades of experience behind your first throw.
Welcome back. We're going to take a look at the U-Disc course close-up of this Pickard Park, established in 1999, rated 4.6 on the U-Disc app, which is the 3rd highest rating of any course in Iowa. The track lays out for our FPO division as a par 64 at 8,424 feet. And of course, water comes into play on multiple holes. You have to watch out for hole 4, which includes water, along with hole number 12, that par 3, quite tricky. U-Disc, the app for disc golfers. Make sure you go out and download it today from your favorite app store. And Val, everybody needs a little advice. So this is your keys, thanks to our friends at Black Ink Disc, the premium disc golf store. What are you trying to do here?
Well, from what I've seen in the past 2 years on this event, tee to green stats, if you have high tee to green stats and you're able to land your disc in the appropriate position to set yourself up on these longer holes, these par 4s and par 5s, you're going to lead to scoring. And you're up and down this entire way through the course, so understanding the elevation, understanding how the hill drops, or if you do have an uphill run-up, understand what it's going to take to get your disc as far as you can, and you're going to need endurance to do that. And now we're 3 rounds we're on to our 3rd round, and these players, they have to have their physical strength, but then the mental strength takes a toll when you're playing such a difficult track.
Again, thank you to our friends at blackinkdisc.com.
And the wind doesn't look as intense as it was yesterday. It's an extreme headwind off of the tee of 1. So right from the bat, they were dealing with the conditions. And Kristen Tatar said she wasn't confident in those headwind shots yesterday, and actually said she'd go out to the field after the round yesterday and give it a little bit more practice so that she can come into today a little bit more solid.
We are ready to go with our lead card.
Kristen Tatar. Next up, Val Jenkins, Finland, Evelina.
I'll just go. Start yelling.
And out of Morristown, Tennessee, Macy Veladiaz. Out our card, out of Pensacola, Florida, please welcome 5-time world champion Paige Pierce.
And talk about consistency as we see 3 drives all within a few feet of each other. And Paige Pierce, same neighborhood, but a little bit closer to the pin. Paige and Evelina making their way down the fairway. And we're going to check in with Laine. This is her second shot on hole number 2. And I'm really not surprised to see her in such a good position off of the drive. Many people saw her at the European Open, possibly for the first time. I've seen her for a number of years now. She's one of the longest driving FPO competitors, so I'm looking forward to seeing her more on coverage in the next couple of weeks, especially when we get to the World Championships. I'm going to put my money on it right now. During the distance competition at the World Championships, I think she's going to be one of the top 3 throwers when we check the results there in a few days. And a long look for birdie for Jessica Weiss on hole 2. And the Anheuser putt not quite connecting, but leaving her nice and close to the pin. Here's Macy Veladiaz. And no surprise to see such a smooth, fluid forehand coming out of Macy Veladiaz. Definitely a go-to shot for her.
And it's a needed shot on this course. It enables you to get around these corners. There's a lot of basket placements where you have to work the shot left to right. And Evelina does just that. No, the only player on this card that doesn't rely on the forehand too much or as much as the rest of the card mates is Paige. So it's fun to see her work those slower speed Anheuser shots, but you just don't get the same type of angle as you do with the forehand.
I'm sensing a theme here as all 3 of the drives were right next to one another. All 3 of the approaches very close to the pin. Looks like they're off to a great start. Here's a birdie look for Katrina Allen, hole 2.
Not too bad of a roll. Could be much worse.
Paige needing more angle on that turn. Caught up high on the tree, so she'll still remain out. So went from closest to the basket to now farthest away. Haiti for her birdie attempt. And a nice firm putting stroke, picking up the birdie and putting herself on the board here in round number 3.
You mentioned the first time that I actually ever have heard of her was at the European Open, and to see such incredible talent, and for that to be the first time that I've heard her name, I can't wait to see what she does the world either.
Pierce for birdie.
Wow, and maintaining balance at that. I mean, she was on the tippy tip of her toes to get that full extension in that putt. That's exactly what she's going to need to do. She cannot let those birdie opportunities slip through her grasp.
We're looking at a star frame here on hole number 1 to get things started. So the only movement on this card, Val, is them maybe trying to pull away from our chase card and the rest of the field. But great start. All 4 women birdies on hole number 1. We're going to take a look. Paige Pierce should be reaching out to Sunstein if she hasn't already to patent a little flip before she makes that long distance putt. Sunstein can help you out with any of your intellectual property needs. If you have a logo, trademark, any form of branding, make sure you reach out to them. They can help us out here in the disc golf community. Thank you for your support, Sunstein Law. Coming off the birdie on hole 2, we have Heyday.
Brand new hole 3, carved out of the woods, very technical shot. And to see Heyday throw that backhand, that's just so challenging to hit the line perfectly. The sidearm seems to be the best route as the basket is tucked around to the right. Great shot to get out into the opening is a huge success on this hole. A lot of opportunities to hit early. Probably the largest tee pad I've ever seen. Don't you agree?
Plenty of range there as we're watching Kristen Tatar.
It's a great spot to be, throwing out wide to the right and getting around those trees and then allowing the disc to hyzer back as the second part of the fairway makes its way to the left.
An even better position that we see from Evelina.
Wow.
As I said, I'm sensing a theme here, Val. And this time Paige off the mark, and that's going to bring those trees into play. And I'm going to throw it out to Brian as he's right there checking out the lie. We're going to watch Macy's shot again, but while we do that, I want to hear from Brian. Give us an assessment of all 4 of those drives, Brian. Who's really in the best spot?
I mean, everybody but Paige is in a spot on top of the hill. They have an opportunity to throw a little hyzer. up on the high side and slide it down to the basket. Paige actually has a very similar lie. It's just going to be a little bit tougher. She's a little bit farther down in the hill, and she's going to really have to play that hyzer on the high side, maybe even 30 feet to the right to get it to slide to the basket with how steep this slope is.
And Brian, just a quick follow-up is, will she have a ceiling to deal with? The other three women look to be wide open. Will Paige have a ceiling from one of the branches of those trees?
No, she's fine. The only ceiling she has really is these last guardian trees leading up to the basket, so she's kind of forced to throw low anyway.
All right, appreciate the insight as Brian Earhart will be out on the ground giving us a ton of great information here on this very challenging Pickard track. We're going to jump over back to hole number 3. As you said, Val, the new carved out wooded hole. That's Katrina Allen's third shot. She got caught up early, so she'll have that left to tap in for bogey.
Think of what an advantage it is for Jessica to get out into the opening. I mean, all the hard work is done if you can get your drive out as far as you can. The second shot here on hole 2 plays a little bit longer just because of that incline all the way up to the pin. And with a little bit of a low ceiling, Paige is going to have to penetrate this disc and hold that line the entire time. It's a pretty exact height that she's going to need if she wants to land it inside the circle.
That's tracking just short of the pin, and as we said, with that slope near the green, it almost always pulls everything over to that left side section of trees. Pierce will be left with a very makeable but slightly uphill putt.
And there is an OB line on the right-hand side, and it comes within circle 1 on the right-hand side of the basket. So these backhand shots need to carry over OB, but need to get back quick, and Macy stays out of bounds.
Too straight for too long. That needed a hookup at the end. And Macy sitting in third place coming into today, very, very important as she's trying to pick up more points for the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, because currently she is outside of the cutoff to see her at the championships. So Macy needs all the points she can get today.
Evelina, even though that wasn't the exact line that she wanted to hit, that tree helped her out, rolled her closer.
And this is exactly what I was just referencing. She's sitting in 23rd, and on the outside looking in, we have qualified play-in spots. Those are 17th through 20th, but Macy coming up short of that line at the moment. See Jennifer Allen and Madison Walker just in front of her. So today, plenty of points on the line. Could be picking up anywhere between 75 and 100 points potentially with a solid finish. Forehand, I love the angle, just needs a skip, and it gets exactly that. Kristen Tatar, bullseye hit, looking at a birdie on hole 2.
Pretty much exactly the same play as she did yesterday. I mean, to have that much speed on the disc coming in, really relying on that skip to bring her close.
And Jessica Weiss with a long birdie bid on 3. That'll rest right next to the pin, and she'll walk away with a par. And I'm thinking about, as we're seeing the scores, the hot start that Kristen Tatar got off to in round number 1. She got birdies on 1, 2, and 3. She missed the birdie on 4, but picked up the birdie on 5. So starting out 4 out of 5, and today she's looking very dialed in these first couple of holes. And if she gets off to that great start like she did in round number 1, it's going to just instill more confidence, and it may even start to frighten the rest of her competitors, thinking, okay, how in the world are we going to catch up to her? And Macy will have that putt left for her bogey.
Yeah, and for Kristen, it was all parts of her game were working in that first round. Her drives were on point. I think the stat was maybe she missed hitting circle 2 in regulation 1 time in that entire round, but she was looking at birdie, and when the pressure was on in certain situations, she was able to make those pressure putts. And so that's what it's going to take in a final round to win an elite event like this. And I know she wants that redemption after yesterday.
And certainly online for Pierce. She was ready to go retrieve it. Coming up just an inch or 2 short. Salonen for birdie from outside circle 1. And that had a little more of the power required, but somehow seemed to kick back just short for Salonen. Macy drops back to par on the round, and Kristen here 2 for 2 and off to a great start. She's going to distance herself from the rest of the card. And they'll head over to the wooded tee found on hole number 3, but don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
The Palmer's Best Foundation tries to help grow disc golf in underserved areas.
Get on my way. I was just a little bitty boy with hopes and dreams. Then those hopes they manifested to nobody.
None of this, and I mean none of this, could be possible without just anyone that's believed in this foundation or who sees this for the first time and wants to help.
Get on my way, the frequency been way up, way up. Get on my way, it's too easy, it's a layup, layup. Get on my way.
Thank you to anyone who's been a part of this. This is just the beginning.
Do the carload, 8 avocado, take 7.
Action. And cut. Perfect. That's a wrap, everyone.
Welcome back. Kristen Tatar on the tee of hole number 3. Hitting the wood chips and really navigating the most dangerous part of the fairway, getting it through the initial gap. And from there, worst case scenario, she'll have an easy pitch up to the basket to walk away with a par. Here's Katrina Allen, the tee of 4.
Downhill shot. Over 400 feet to get to the pin. Katrina leaves a little bit short. It's going to be a daunting birdie putt.
Salonen also with a forehand shot. And this looks great as it cuts all the way through. And Evelina will have a look at birdie. Here's Kat Murch on 4.
Wow.
From way back in Des Moines.
I was wondering if the Cats were playing doubles. Similar position where we just saw Katrina land.
Pierce going with a standstill. And missed her line, but missed it just enough that she still navigated through most of the fairway.
And standing still and throwing a shot, she's taking, she's focusing more on the throw rather than the timing that she needs to get to that shot. And Macy went off clean, but kept it very low, so she's almost out the gap as we fly through this hole. I mean, I imagine the players walking down the fairway with their arms extended out to the side, and they could basically touch the trees as they walk down. So it's a very narrow gap that they have to hit. They have to release it a little higher than normal just so that it can get over this last ridge and carry over the hill. You see some of the players throwing those beeline shots and they get hung up in these wood chips. But if you can punch out into the open, you are sitting pretty. Evelina's over there with those smaller bushes on the left-hand side of our screen, and then you have the water behind. So we haven't seen the rollaways, but there is potential as it drops off down toward the water.
And the forward progress that all 4 of our card members have gotten here is pretty good because it's easy to get caught up way back, and then sometimes even just getting to the mouth here where Paige is can be a challenge. So the fact that we've got all 4 shots here or closer is pretty good in the first place. Paige will still be, well, a difficult putt. That's for par. Now we're back with Katrina Allen. We saw the drive a moment ago from outside of the circle.
Air mail. I mean, I know the water's close. I don't know if she made it into the water, but wow, that was an aggressive putt.
Fully expecting a pitch just next to the pin here from Tatar. Not really a position in which I would think she's going to give this a full run. And that'll work.
Now the door swings open with an opportunity for Evelina here to get a stroke, and to get that stroke back after the missed putt on the previous hole. A metal hit, it keeps the confidence there, but Evelina is going to need to make more of an effort to extend, focus in on exactly what she needs to do. There's not going to be too many more opportunities like that to get the stroke on Kristen.
Pierce is off the mark, so that's going to be a bogey for Paige. As I look back, we know that Kristen had birdied this in round number 1, and a number of other competitors were able to pick this up in rounds 2 and 3, but no one played this hole better than Kristen with her 1 under. Now we're seeing Katrina Allen. This is her par attempt, and great comeback. And we're going to be right back after a word from these sponsors.
The
The Millennium Scorpius is a 12-speed overstable distance driver. It's one of the best ultra-long distance drivers in the game today. Go grab one today at golfdisc.com.
If you want to be the best, you win world. It doesn't happen to a lot of people, and when it does, it's huge.
Welcome back. We are on the tee of hole number 4 with Kristen. And really that safe, common collection spot for a lot of our drives. They're not necessarily trying to challenge the water, so if you bail out left, you'll be safe, and then you can decide if you want to give it a long run for birdie, as Kat Murch going with the forehand on hole number 5. Pushes off to the right side, and the gallery likes it.
And for Kristen, she doesn't need to push it just yet. Evelina, on the other hand, she should be running at this pin, and she just didn't take it out over the water like you need to do. You really need to test those limits, carry it out to the right, and get the full flight of the disc.
And out over the water the whole way with the hyzer line, we're seeing Katrina Allen, and that checks up and stays in bounds. She'll be about pin high to the elevated basket. Back with Valadiaz. Again on that short left side. Pierce now 10 strokes back of Kristen Tatar.
And that's the tree that I was thinking Paige was aiming at. Clearing water the entire way and inside the circle. It's a beautiful shot if you have the distance to reach the pin, but you really have to trust the disc that you're throwing, put it out wide over the water, and then just rely on it to fade back to the basket. It's a classic Paige Pierce type of shot. You bring in all the risk, and the reward pays off if you can hit it.
And as the gallery starts to push down the fairway, I'm going to throw it out to Brian for a moment and say, Brian, I just mentioned Paige is 10 behind what we see from Kristen Tatar. Should Kristen even be worried about someone like Paige at this point?
I mean, absolutely. She shot a 9 under par round 1, but then she shot only a 2 under round 2. I mean, anything is possible out here. I mean, Kat Murch's philosophy is coming true. So I absolutely believe Paige can still shoot a 12 under par out here.
And here's an interesting thing. After the 2 rounds played, Paige led the field in birdies. So really no surprise that Paige is able to get a lot of birdies on this course, but it's the amount of errors that she has to, that erases a lot of those birdies. It's a little bit of up and down weekend for Paige.
Here's Kat Murch for birdie. Picking him up on both 4 and 5. Salonen forced to lay it up next to the pin.
is a good position to be in if you want to run at the birdie. Just deep inside circle 2, but there's no out of bounds behind the pin. Flat footing.
Pierce for birdie.
And now we're 4 holes in, and I feel like Paige has played different than the other 3 players on every single hole. She's the odd man out today, or so far at least.
Well, that birdie will bring her into a tie for third with Macy Valadez. They both sit at 3 under overall. Evelina remains at 7, and Kristen will remain at 12 under. Katrina Allen doesn't get that one to fall. It's off the left side. She'll have the tap in there for the par, so missed opportunity for sure for Katrina Allen. What are they trying to do here on 5, Val?
Hole 5, it plays as an island, so the players need to focus in on just landing it in bounds. Slightly sloping up to the basket, so you can dive it in short of the pin and allow the disc to skip up near the basket. They can go long if they're trying to be too aggressive, but we see a lot of short kind of touch shots going out of bounds as well.
And a great crowd has come out here to hole number 5. They were out here yesterday cheering on, and it looks like they've got their early seats where they'll hang out here today as well. We love it. And in fact, on hole number 5, I think there's a little added bonus incentive out there. Brian, can you fill us in on what this means off these tee shots?
Yeah, if you don't drop the ace for the fans and you drop underneath the basket, there's a $500 gas card CTP that's been put up by a local insurance company. Actually might be more valuable to some of these disc golfers than hitting an ace.
All right, so closest to the pin is sponsoring a $500, or is the prize on a $500 gift card. And Paige Pierce might be filling up her tank with that one.
Thank you.
Leaks to the right and just barely, it looks like it's straddling the line. Brian, that looks into us, but can you confirm?
Looks like it's overlapping. The spotter's getting up to it. And the, yeah, there we go, green flag. The crowd loves it.
Wow. The 8 holes over at MVP have some work to do this year if they want to keep up with the energy we're seeing here on hole 5.
That's on the green. Brian, we don't see a CTP marker by any other previous competitors. Can you confirm if Paige has it locked up right now?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see one either. I don't even know how they're tracking this, but Paige for sure has to have it. It's only a foot or 2 behind the basket.
And a great inbound shot as well from Evelina. So Evelina, along with Macy and everyone else on the card. Well, moving on to the island as they're playing for Petro. We talked about the long drives that we've seen from Laine. We're going to take a look here. This is her teeing off on 6. And getting caught up in the first cutout section on the right side of 6. So she's going to have a very sharp angle to the basket.
Oh, that looks beautiful.
Taking a look at the stats here on hole 5 today, it's almost 30% in each of the divisions, from 30% birdie, 30% par, and 30% bogey or worse.
Me or Evelina? Same. But when you pick your meter, maybe Evelina? Yeah.
So a little directing of traffic to figure out who's, in fact, farthest away from the pin. Looks like it's going to be Evelina to go first. And what a solid putt by Evelina. Any doubts that you may have had about Evelina's putting seem to be completely squashed here this weekend. She has been so consistent, and that's exactly why you're seeing her in the running, trying to hunt down this woman, Kristen Tatar. Just so everyone's clear, anytime you are near an OB line, you can take up to 1 meter away from the OB line. That's exactly what Kristen is doing. You cannot miss this low, because if it hits some metal, there's a good chance it could get up and roll away on you.
Well, she listened. Hits high, drops under the pin.
Also fortunate, and clearly I know it could get up and roll when you hit the upper entrapment like it did there as well, but hitting that the pyramid there just gives you a really good chance for it to catch edge and then roll down the hill toward the water. And we've seen that a number of times throughout the weekend. Here's Valadiaz for birdie. And we haven't seen Macy a lot on lead cards. She even mentioned that yesterday in her interview after the round. But she looks very comfortable out there, doesn't she, Val?
Yeah, she sure does. And she seems to be a showman, even though it's early in her career.
We're going to move over to hole number 6, and we'll be right back on the Disc Golf Network.
Brastine45463 asks, what's a disc you have in your bag that nobody else really uses? I feel like a lot of people do use this disc, but I throw an X-Cal. I like the way it flies, I like the way it glides, and I definitely love the way it dumps. It's always going to give me a very stable finish.
I would recommend the Envy to every single person that plays disc golf.
This is such a good throwing putter.
If you don't have an Envy in your bag, I don't know what you're doing.
The Envy is one of the most pure, straight flying putters.
Comes out clean, can handle power, it can handle touch. It's just very versatile.
It holds any line that you're really putting it on. It's so good. So good! It's so good.
Hello, we're Kenna. We're a Dutch growing company. We love plants and we want to tell you some cool things about them. Just like humans, plants can communicate. They can sense when another plant is close. Plants look out for each other too. They warn neighbors about nearby threats by secreting substances. And studies have shown that plants love a good tune. We love and understand plants. Let our passion excite you too.
Welcome back. We are on the tee of hole number 6. We're also updated that Ellie Bryant won the CTP and was just 6 inches behind the basket. So congratulations to Ellie. And we have Katrina Allen from the right side rough. And from there, she'll likely have 2 more throws. So she's looking at a potential bogey.
Like yesterday, kind of.
Yeah, and we look like it's going to be so hot. Okay.
Is it? You already looked? Yeah. It's usually very hot. But there's more trees than here. Not in the fairway, but like where you could go for shade. Should be okay.
Do you like enjoy? Everyone says it's boring.
Disc golf, pickleball. That's it.
Have you played pickleball?
Paige isn't out there pickleballing? What's going on? And the attempt from Katrina off the mark. You see her a little bit frustrated. She's likely lining up a bogey here on 6.
And it sounded like they were talking about the weather and what could be expected out at Worlds next week, or in a couple of weeks. Back when the Worlds was happening in 2016, all I can remember is just the heat warnings and the news telling you, don't leave your house.
Stay in air conditioning.
Yeah.
Don't go walk around in a field.
And we're teeing off at 1 in the afternoon at the peak of the heat in the day. So, yeah, it can be treacherous in the middle of summer.
More than 100 degrees with the 110 or so with heat index. Yes, it was certainly sticky out there. Here's Pierce. And really putting herself in a great position here on 6.
That's just as good as it gets. I mean, she was riding the tree line the whole way, flying forward, and then a slight fade to the left, right in the middle of the fairway. And there's a lot of space on this fairway. Evelina just going up the gut the whole way. There's an out of bounds line on that left-hand side in the tall grass. The more left that you can be, the angle to the pin is better.
Valadia is also in great position, and we see with the Flanners just maybe a little bit of a tailwind for our competitors here, which means it's going to be a crosswind on hole number 7 on the next one. No problems for Tatar. Now we're going to take a look. This is Evelina Salinen's form, and what are you seeing here, Val, when you break this down?
Evelina has just that explosive type of power. You can see how far she extends in her reach back to get the full length of how far she can go back, and that's where the power comes from. So as she reaches back as far as she can, she is building momentum as she pulls across her chest, and every time I see her throw, you can tell that she's putting everything she can behind these shots. And to think of the the amount of power that Evelina shows and the amount of power that the rest of the players have, the technique is different, and they're all getting into the same spot. But Evelina, always impressive.
Well, and if you need some new disc golf shoes, go out and support Ideo Sports. You can find them on ideosports.com. Disc golf shoes designed with us disc golfers in mind. And up on the green is Cat Merch. This is for par. And Cat Merch now on the right track after the bogey start. Brian, I hate to say it, but I think our players out here on this lead card are making your job easy. There's really not much to assess there, is there? How good of positions are these?
I mean, these are pretty much perfect position, Terry. I mean, this is great watching this lead card play in front of these fans, and everyone seems to be putting together a decent round so far.
And it's fun to watch how these players, it's a chess match, and they're matching each other on these shots, and everyone is just dialing it in with their drives. It's just a matter of the little errors that can happen. Can you get these second shots close enough? And Macy, well done.
It just feels to me after 2 days of competition out here, we're on this third and final round, and all the competitors are like, yep, we've been here, we've dialed it in over the last 2 rounds, and here we are trying to put it all together for the third round. We see 2 nearly perfect approaches, and now Evelina, after a great drive, looking to do the same. Short but workable for Evelina. We jump ahead to the next tee, hole number 7. Cat Merch from the platform.
Uphill drive to get up to this pin, but it's a crush to get inside the wood chips for a putt at birdie.
Paige still walking.
Still walking.
Paige, too much power. That has gone significantly past the basket. Brian, what is she going to be left with? Because it looks like that was a massive overthrow.
She got caught up in some bushes deep, so she's going to have about a 25, 30-foot, slightly obstructed putt.
And you heard her. She just said probably a layup. So we'll see.
Now with Katrina Allen on the tee of 7.
The shot measures 345 feet, but plays well over 400. And Katrina's inside the wood chips. Still a circle's edge putt for that birdie. So Terry, here's one of those scenarios. We just saw the 3 other players on the card with that nice, easy forehand shot. They just pick a point in the sky, and that the wave sharp angle that a sidearm can get to the pin just makes it easier to hit these types of shots. Whereas Paige, with that finesse backhand, she just wasn't able to get that sharp turn around the corner. Now laying up and missing out on a stroke from her group.
Salonen is in for the birdie. It's going to bring her to 9 under par. Macy also in for birdie. So Macy with 3 birdies in the first 6 holes. And Kristen Tatar will maintain a 4-stroke lead heading into hole number 7. And Paige, the only lead card competitor to take the par. Here's Jessica Weiss. She's got a long birdie look on 7. Oh, and she cans it left side, corner pocket.
Wow. I was wondering how she was going to get that jump putt over the log and that full reach.
Jessica Weiss, last year's runner-up, trying to do work out here today to make a move. But Kristen Tatar and Evelina continue to charge forward. They seem uncatchable through the first third of the course. Off to a great start. We saw the drive by Katrina Allen. Now she's left with about 42 feet. It's quite a contrast from what we saw from her 2 days ago, where it felt like every look she had from that distance was for sure going in. Today, not the case for Katrina Allen. But what has been the case all year long, Diameter Apparel and VII supporting us here on hole number 7 on every course. We appreciate your support. Make sure you go out and check out their apparel. You can also find some on the Disc Golf Pro Tour website and store. And short, in the same kind of territory that we just saw Jessica Weiss land, is where Evelina will be. Here's Macy Valadiez. Getting it to jump up and over the Guardian rail there.
From down there on the tee pad, these players have to have a higher release point to make sure that the disc is high enough to climb up the hill. And the most important part is that very last spot to get up and over the logs. So moving it low as well.
She's looking at the middle of circle 2, so it's probably somewhere around 50 feet or so for her putt. Here's Pierce. This is a great angle for Pierce. Hook up at the end, and the answer is yes. Pierce on the wood chips, closest to the pin again.
And this hole's playing pretty boring today for the FPO division, with 86% of the field carding par. It was just that huge birdie putt from Jessica Weiss. She is the solo birdie on this hole. Loved the angle that Paige threw and the height, and it was a little deceiving with the camera angle. I was thinking it was an ace run for a moment.
Cap Merch on 8. And comes up short of the OB, and we'll have a look for birdie from deep in circle 2. Brian, talk to us. You know, we just heard there's only been one birdie, of which we just saw. What's the biggest challenge here on hole number 7 for our competitors?
I mean, straight up, Terry, it's the distance. This hole is way more uphill than it looks. I would say the shot plays about 400, maybe a little more to reach the pin itself. And then most of the time the wind coming off is a little bit of a head cross to the right. So it's just really hard to access this green. Even the MPO division, you have a lot of shots that are completely running out of speed and spin and just dying out of the flight.
All right, we appreciate it, Brian. And you're exactly right. Seeing on our camera angle, it doesn't appear to be that much of an uphill climb. But knowing that it is and dealing with the wind, That's maybe why we've only seen the one birdie thus far. Here's Evelina. Macy's jumper, thought she had it. It was definitely online.
And again, odd woman out. Can Paige get the birdie? 25 feet uphill. Doesn't hit a thing. And now probably a similar size putt on the other side of the basket.
And Val, you have to wonder, this is such a unique green in that it has all these wood chips. Your footing isn't 100% consistent. You know what it's like on grass. You know what it's like on so many other textures and surfaces. But sometimes when you're doing your weight shift in a putt, your foot can slip out from under you, and those are things you have to think about when you're on a wooded green like this. Paige clearly thinking about all of that so that she can make the comebacker for par.
Yeah, and one thing I don't think a lot of people think about until they're actually in the motion of putting, but it's that back foot. It's the foot that pushes off the ground, and if it's not solid, you're not going to get that extension that you need.
Kristen will maintain that 4-stroke advantage. Macy taps in and also remains in third place. This is Katrina Allen with her tee shot on hole number 8. Looking for that to swing, maybe skip to the bucket.
Wow.
Katrina Allen's parked. You stay parked right there. We've got more action on the other side of this commercial break.
Check out the whole lineup at ClashDisc.com.
Back with Katrina Allen and capitalizing on the great drive on 8. That's going to bring her back to even par. And let's take a look at what they need to do here on hole number 8, Val.
Hole 8, we head back downhill, and there's an out-of-bounds line, a fence line on the left-hand side. So players can use all the room on the right and push it as far as they can, hoping to swing it back just in front of the trees on the right and skid underneath the basket. It's going to be a full-out crush for our competitors to get inside the circle, but this is a great birdie opportunity for these long drivers on our lead card. We've seen 19% of the field so far getting those birdies, and it takes a good drive to get you there.
Our leader, or correction, sorry, our chaser here in Evelina Salonen, who sits 4 behind our leader in Kristen Tatar. In circle 2. Valadiaz short, but on line with the basket.
Does this have the forward movement? Does perfectly. An enthusiastic green flag from the spotter.
So a number of times, Val, we've seen Paige as closest to the pin, but not necessarily picking up the birdie or taking advantage of the shot. Seems as if her putting is just a bit off today. I believe we have a mid-range from Pierce here.
A mid-range? 420 feet downhill? I'm surprised, just because that's only something a Paige Pierce kind of player can do.
Kat Murch, no problem navigating the corridor on the tee shot of 9.
Like you were mentioning a few holes back, it's fun to see how these players are really dialing in this course. I love the fact that we're playing a tournament where you're playing the same course every single round. And in that final round, everyone knows the shots they want to hit. They've 2 rounds in with that experience in the competition, and that's what you want to see. You want to see the best golf on that final day, and that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, we're seeing our chase card trying to make a charge. We're seeing our lead card dialing in these shots, and it all comes down to, can they make the putts? Who's going to score? Because I still don't know yet who is going to start to take that lead, but everyone's maintaining so far.
And although from a greater distance than a few of her previous putts, Evelina doesn't convert, even though she was on line. Another solid putt from Macy Valadiaz. In for birdie on 8. Paige does take advantage also of the good drive. She matches the birdie by Macy. She'll remain 1 behind Macy. However, Kristen Tatar looking to tap in for the birdie to push to 14 under. And she's done just that. So that gives her a 5-stroke cushion over Evelina. We saw the drive by Kat Murch. Now here's the attempt at birdie. Just off the mark. Too much power. And we also saw the drive by Katrina Allen on that hole, and she went on to birdie. So Kristen Tatar now with a 5-stroke lead over Evelina. Of course, she started the day with that 4-stroke advantage. Macy Valadiaz 1 in front of Paige Pierce. Sarah Holcomb putting it together today. He's up 5 spots at the moment. She's got 3 birdies, no bogeys. Also, when I was looking earlier at who had played hole 3 well throughout the weekend, I saw Sarah was one of those very few birdies on hole number 3 today. So our 2012 world champion out there doing work today.
Yeah, and putting really well, 100% inside the circle. And she capitalized on a C2 putt on hole 3 for the birdie at 50 feet. So that's a bonus birdie for sure.
And likely an all or nothing downhill putt, probably from 50 feet there. And you're seeing from up above on hole number 9, that's Macy Valadiaz. You see how much OB surrounds the basket. So not only do you have to be accurate to make sure you get through this initial hallway, but then you cannot have it fade out too hard to the left, which is a common mistake. Yesterday we saw Kristen pull this hard right and go out of bounds. Today she gets to skip off the wood chips, and she's in the middle of the fairway.
And these players are teeing just straight uphill. The hill in front of them is just so close that they have to release much higher than comfortable and still have the disc penetrating forward and straight. So the disc selection is important on this one to make sure that you're getting the flight. And oh my, our jaws dropped here in the booth. From that angle, that looked like it was in the basket. I just didn't hear the chains.
We were collectively holding our breath. Paige Pierce underneath the pin on 9.
Evelina skimming the top of the hill as well, but she fades out and out of bounds.
So she's gained enough distance that she's almost pin high, so she'll have a look at saving the par. We're going to roll that Zuka replay. Watch this shot again from Paige Pierce. And look at it tracking right at the basket, coming up just barely short.
That was so deceiving when it hit the ground short. And from where they're teeing from, they can't see the basket. They have really no idea how their shots actually ended up or how close they are. So I think Paige is going to be pleasantly surprised. She barely has to putt.
And she could just lean over and dunk that one into the basket, as we're seeing a great tee shot by Katrina Allen on hole number 10. And as Kristen pitches next to the pin, best case scenario for Evelina is that she remains just 5 back at the completion of this hole. However, she's going to have to make the par-saving putt to do so, as she is out of bounds. Valadiaz will be taking a par, which means Paige will be tying her up for that 3rd place position at 6 under. And so impressive, as we were just talking about them getting dialed in and overall looking at the scores. Of our top 4 competitors here through roughly 8.5 or 9 holes, we see just 2 bogeys on the entire scorecard. So very, very clean playing here in the early going, or in the early front half of this final round. We'll see if Evelina can keep her clean scorecard intact. She's going to need to make this putt to do so. I've been so impressed, Val, by what I've seen from Evelina here this weekend.
Yeah, the way that she can, I can't guess what she's going to do on any one of these putts. You know, we've talked about her putting woes throughout the season, and I'm just unsure, but then she comes back and makes me question. Like, she is an incredible putter, and she is confidently running at putts at all distance. And that's something that we don't typically see if a player is not hitting putts, not putting well. They're a little tentative. But Evelina always looks confident, always running at those putts.
A clean shot there for Kat Murch off the tee of 10. And that 5-stroke deficit for Evelina will remain after making that putt. Again, keeping her scorecard bogey-free. So in the first 9 holes, she has lost 1 stroke to Kristen. Meanwhile, we're seeing Macy Valadiaz has lost a single stroke to Paige, and that's why they're all knotted up at 3rd place. And they're separating themselves a little bit from that 5th place position and beyond.
And for Evelina, to get the birdie on this hole, you have to bring in that out of bounds. So I don't feel like it was an error off the tee. She gave it her best effort, and to be able to hit that putt and walk away with a par after going out of bounds, I mean, her mind is in it, and that's exactly what she needs to do to keep any sort of pressure on Kristen.
You almost wonder if you're indicating her putting was going into blackout mode there for a moment. So halfway through the round, any surprises that you've seen here thus far, Val?
Not yet. I'm still waiting to see if there is going to be any amount of hope for the rest of the field, because Kristen has just looked really solid today. She's not pushing it. She's playing a little safer than we've seen in the previous 2 rounds, and that is what's allowing her to reduce any chance for errors to happen. So I think at this point, Kristen is very in control of what's happening. Now, we heard it from several players that the back 9 of this course is the most challenging. There's a little bit more out of bounds. There's a few more technical shots where they're just par 3s, but they get into the woods and could be the birdie bogey situation. So there's certainly those opportunities for 2-stroke swing to happen on any one of these finishing holes.
And right now our competitors are waiting for the chase card, as in they're in the middle of hole number 10, but not much more of a wait before we get to the World Championships, taking place Tuesday through Saturday, August 30th through September 3rd. Of course, this PDGA Major will be featured right here on the Disc Golf Network. You'll be able to watch it live every single round, FPO and MPO. That's 10 total rounds that will be taking place over there in Emporia. Looking forward to the entire crew and the whole world watching. Of course, hole number 10 is our Eric hole. Early recognition is critical. Make sure you're always going in for regular checkups and screenings. If you see anything that might be abnormal, get it looked at. See your doctors regularly. Here's Paige Pierce lining up the big hyzer off the tee of 10. Needs enough room to swing back, and it does just that. Flirting with that right side out of bounds, but Pierce, big drive on 10.
Yeah, that clump of trees in the middle of our screen, that's what prevents the players from throwing the direct route, and they're forced to throw out over the out of bounds. Macy taking the lower route. Oh, and just skimming over the top of that tall grass.
Kristen gets caught up. It hits and then rolls back, and that's going to be out of bounds for Kristen Tatar. Just barely clipping one of those final branches. And an opportunity here for Evelina. And Evelina not wanting to bring the out of bounds into play at all, and just going straight up the middle, missing the largest tree.
I was trying to tell from Evelina's face to see if that was actually the game plan or if she switched it up because of what Kristen did right here. I mean, this is shocking how the skip at the end. I mean, it's likely that you're going to hit some branches coming this inside, but then it's landing with a hyzer angle and kicks to the right. Like just basically bounces off the ground to the right.
She will gain all of that distance, and she'll be able to throw it from where she was last in bounds, but just a mistake we were never expecting to see here from Kristen Tatar. Her driving has been so on point really throughout the entire weekend, especially when you're talking about a low hyzer shot. That's kind of her bread and butter, as we're seeing Kat Mertz with a perfect approach shot inside the circle up ahead on hole 10 here.
So that took a bit of distance off of the drive for Kristen, and so now she's going to have to try and make up a few more feet with each throw if she's going to try and get that par. This is a par 5.
And she's looking to crest the hill and get as far down as she can. I think she still certainly is in position where she could get up and down and save the par, as you're mentioning, Val. And the spotter's holding us off because Katrina Allen needing to throw her approach, and the forehand also effective. And Kristen can absolutely get to this spot, which is what she'd be looking to do, as we see an even better approach by Jessica Weiss. So once Kristen gets the green flag, this is the exact area she's trying to get to still on her, what would be her third. And up ahead on the green, now we have Katrina Allen. Birdie up, just low for Allen. The opportunity slips past her, and she is. Now we have Heidi Line. This is for birdie. And that's going to sting as well from short range, not able to pick up the birdie on the par 5. And Jessica Weiss with the birdie. And Kat Mertz, who had gone just a few moments ago, she capitalized on the birdie look. So 2 birdies and 2 pars from the chase card. Now ready to go.
The green is clear, the spotter tells us, but Kristen Tatar just looking to aim at that tree in the middle of our screen and get as far as she can over that hill. Yeah, just barely cresting the hill.
Yeah,
so
she's
gonna have a long next shot to get into that island to get near the basket. But it's gonna take a full out drive rather than a shorter approach like we'll see most likely out of the rest of the players.
Well, I'm going to throw it out to Brian for a little strategy. Brian, is she in a position where you think she'll even go for it, or will she maybe concede and just try to pitch down the hill and play for the bogey?
Honestly, pitching down the hill on this hole is kind of risky because the OB does pinch down to the green essentially. So she actually is in a great spot to throw some sort of controlled driver or even harp forehand if she wants to take an approach and access the green.
And Brian, we just saw the second shot by Evelina. It looks like both Evelina and Kristen are maybe in similar spots right now, aren't they?
Yeah, not terrible. If you're underneath this tree, it's really not that bad. Being behind it is what creates that ceiling, but they're all in a pretty solid spot. I'd say about 275, 300 to the pin.
Thank you for the insight, Brian.
So was funny to see. I mean, no matter how good your drive is on this hole, that tree can still come into play. And yeah, to have 3 of our players basically at the base of that tree. Look at Paige. I mean, look how far she was able to get down the fairway. So she's going to have a nice, easy approach to land on that downhill slope. But she has to, she's thinking to get herself into the best position. Needs to carry over to the left-hand side of the fairway.
Oh, and Pierce clips the tree. And I'm going to say it again. We see Pierce with the best drive in the group, but she's not following it up with the best approach or putt.
Wow. A missed opportunity there for Paige to just get into the prime spot. Okay, well, it's going to be a competition to see who can get the best layup from the base of this tree. And for Paige, she's trying to get that edge. She's trying to take advantage of the incredible shots that she's had, but just those second shots are not paying off.
So decision time here for Kristen. Of course, the OB surrounds the basket, so not an easy shot by any means. But as Brian was just saying, laying up might not be that easy either. So we'll see if maybe Kristen just gives this a full send and then deals with any OB that might be near the basket, thinking that she could make the recovery shot from there. No surprise to see the forehand trying to play into the hillside.
Very low.
Oh,
maybe it crossed on that side.
That's going to be so crucial. Brian, I don't know if you had any better position than our camera did, but any idea if they're going to give her a mark on the basket side of the inbounds area?
You know, where I'm standing, I don't see the white painted line, and it looks like she did hit the other side of the green, but I'm not sure what side of that white painted line she hit. We'll see what the spotter gives her.
Yeah, appreciate it, Brian. In real time, as we were seeing it, looked like she basically hit the white line, and so it'll be interesting to see if they find her on the other side. And Macy Valadiaz, meanwhile, back to business. Perfect forehand for Valadiaz.
We're going to take a look at that shot one more time, but just extremely low release, looking straight at the out of bounds. Oh my, Terry, it hits exactly on the line. I think the benefit of the doubt has to go to Kristen. I'd give it to her on that basket side.
That's, I feel like, generous. We may agree to disagree there, Val. But Paige, on the other hand, another errant shot. Just not able to capitalize on the position she's in here. And she knew it right out of her hand. Frustrated with herself. So Pierce in maybe even more trouble than what Kristen's in terms of that lie. Here's Evelina trying to take advantage of everything she's seeing in front of her, and she steps up and execute. What a shot by Evelina.
That was a huge moment for Evelina, and she didn't overthink it, which I think is the most important part because it is such a technical shot.
I don't know.
We're going to roll the Zucker replay. Such a clutch shot here by Evelina, as you're saying, Val. Right next to the pin. She just watched a lot of things go wrong for literally every one of her competitors, and now she steps up, puts the pressure, and we're going to see a significant stroke swing between her and Kristen Tatar on this hole.
And I hate to be right in this scenario. You know, I'm talking about heading into the final 9 holes, how stroke swings, 2 strokes here, 3 strokes here, can definitely happen on any one of these holes, and right away. Welcome to the back 9.
here's solid bid.
I would give you the other side. I think you hit and but like by that stake, I think. Yeah, like a little higher than that stake is. Like right there. Yeah. This is over there. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you hit it and then dropped.
Okay, so that's exactly what the group agrees upon, which is all that matters in this case.
I'd say wherever there's paint missing in that line, because the way the disc dug into that side hill, it just blew up that white paint.
Yeah, and that's where we're getting real, almost splitting hairs or splitting blades of grass here as to if she hit any of the inbounds area or not, because the line itself is out of bounds. But even from our angle on a replay, it was almost impossible to tell definitively. Oh, and such a good bid for Tatar.
And like what you're saying, Terry, if there's a chance that she was in bounds, the benefit of the doubt should go to the player. I mean, they can only rely on what they're able to see in these types of situations, the live shot that happened. And if there's a chance that it's likely she could have hit, she gets to take it on the good side.
And Valadiaz tentative but in for birdie. Meanwhile, she's going to take a deep breath. She's moving to 7 under par. She's going to distance herself, and there, Evelina. Exactly what we've been worried about throughout. And she's still going to gain a stroke or two over Kristen Tatar, but the short-range putt off the mark for Evelina. We have to hope that for her sake that does not shake her confidence. She's been so good, so consistent through 2.5 rounds. And here on the back, just when she's given this opportunity for a major stroke swing, she doesn't take full advantage of it. And so rather than pulling within 2, she's pulled within 3, and they're going to move over to hole number 11.
It's just shocking that moments like that can happen with the player. I mean, Evelina made, a 30-foot putt not too long ago with little thought behind it. But it's these short putts where she knows this is a big deal. There's some sort of disconnect between your head and what your hand is doing. Hits wide right, top of the chains, and chains just don't catch.
And clearly in the moment from what we're seeing, that is pressure filled. That, she knows what the situation was. She knows that she's going to be picking up strokes on the leader in Kristen Tatar, and just let it get the best of her. She's avoided that up until this point. Let's see if she can recover. Here's Kat Murch with a huge crush on hole number 11.
And most of the putts that we've seen from Evelina, she's keeping up with the group. Everybody's playing well. And then it seems like when you're out there on the course and you're in those situations and you know how monumentous a short putt like that could be, it's like time stands still. And then your mind just takes control, and the pressure that you put on yourself it's so heavy that, like I said, your mind and your hand you just don't know what your body's doing because pressure is just so overwhelming in those moments. But that's what you need to get over. You need to overcome that if you want to take down big wins.
And heading down this hill a moment ago, you watched them walking past the MPOT to get down to the FPOT, and here's Kat Murch with her second shot after we saw the great drive, and that should be a tap-in birdie for Kat Murch. Here's Katrina Allen. This is a birdie look uphill, and Kat, who hasn't felt like she's been connecting here in round number 3, does so there. with a solid uphill putt from circle 2. Great putt by Katrina Allen. So Jessica Weiss now for par. And Weiss is in. Looks like she's going to be losing strokes to her card mates with that par. This is Kat Mertz for birdie.
This hole is perched on such a steep side hill. That's really the second shot is really important to get your shot close so you don't have to put a lot of pressure on the putt. Yeah, that's kind of, it gives you a look at what the slant looks like all the way down there in that right area of our screen. But first, the drives need to land in the short grass.
And flirting with that right side and then just spitting out into the fairway. A good shot for Macy Valadiaz. Also just fights to the edge of the woods for Evelina. Those extra couple of feet could make a huge difference in her approach shot. Thus far, some very friendly trees out there today.
Yeah, good play.
And a big moment to see how Kristen bounces back after the double bogey. She's in the middle of the fairway. That should be a relatively easy up and down for Tatar. And the battle will continue.
Can't help to think of what goes through these players' minds as they walk from, you know, a hole that just gave them so much challenge. You know, the strokes added up. She knows Evelina's creeping in, but that walk from the previous hole to the tee of this shot. Think of the conversations that are going through their mind and how they're able to talk themselves through it, maybe calm themselves down and get back to focusing on the shot at hand. That's why golf is just so interesting. Being such an individual sport, it's up to yourself to cheer yourself on. You're the one that can talk yourself into something or talk yourself completely out.
No better hype woman out there than Kat Mertz, who just parked this one on hole number 12. And Katrina Allen has struggled with this hole in the first 2 rounds, but not today. Attacking the basket.
And attacking the cameraman,
Certainly.
too.
We'll see if she can make that putt after going deep on the pin. Here's Kristen Tatar, truly in just perfect positioning. And that'll get a roll up toward the pin, so she'll have an uphill putt looking for birdie. Valadiaz assessing her options here. Looks like she's going for a patent pending stance.
So So ideally you want to throw your shot as high as the basket or even higher so that when it finishes, it lands on the left side of the pin and higher so you have just a slight downhill putt.
It's going to require plenty of power, and it looks like she's pulled it to the right. And she's going to be on the lower right side. Long look for birdie. So Katrina Allen, we're taking another look at this. And Katrina Allen has called herself on missing the mandatory. And in the replay that we're just seeing now, it looks like that is true. And Kat has clarified that she missed the mando and she was the first to call it on herself. We'll keep you updated, but here's Pierce.
Perfectly played by Paige Pierce. Say that 10 times fast, Terry.
I've got plenty of miscues in my pocket. I don't need I don't need you to ask me for more. An easy pitch out. Salonen looking to tap in for birdie. So Kristen will act first between the two of them.
And at this point, you know, Evelina, she's missed a short putt. She's parked this upshot. It's going to be a relatively easy tap in for her here, but she can't get herself into that kind of defeated mind frame just yet. But it can quickly happen with just one shot that doesn't meet your expectations. But now it's going to be up to Kristen to make the putt and to maintain that lead.
Oh, and Valadiaz, who's no stranger to throw-ins, running at the basket, almost still walking away with the birdie. Gonna take another look at that, see her reaction. Not really much of one, just business as usual for Valadiaz. Here's Kristen Tatar, looking for a great bounce-back birdie here on 11. Slides out on the right side for Tatar.
This isn't much longer than the previous putt.
And steps up and makes it. So Evelina has now picked up 3 strokes on Kristen Tatar in the last 2 holes, and the lead for Kristen is just 2.
The pressure is ramping up, Terry. Still so many holes left to play. Can Kristen get her mind back into where she was in round 1?
We're going to find out that on the other side of this commercial break. welcome back. Our lead card moving over to the tee of hole number 12. As we said, just a 2-stroke lead now for Kristen Tatar. She started the day with 4, and that has been cut in half. In fact, 3 of the 4 strokes that she had the lead by have been gained or taken away here by Evelina in just the last 2 holes. Earlier we saw the drive by Kat Murch, and she went on to birdie it. Now Evelina with all of the momentum and just a 2-stroke deficit, ready to tee on 12. Looking for a skip. Oh, and just either 2 feet longer or 1 foot shorter, and that would have been skipping right to the pin or even gone past it possibly. However, she hits the wall, stays, and you see her reaction, knowing that might be a little less disc when she goes there to pick it up.
Most important thing, though, she made the Mandos, and she's able to give it a slight run for a birdie. That looked like a missed Mando to me. And just because it's so apparent to me in this round specifically, with 3 players with very strong forehands, and then seeing Paige just not executing the typical Anheuser, the beautiful Anheuser shots that she throws, it is such an advantage to have that sidearm throw on this course. Another shot working from left to right. You can look at the pin the entire way. And that's a great height from Kristen.
And closest to the pin. So if we're wondering if Kristen's feeling the nerves, well, she's hiding it well, because that's going to be a birdie look here on 12.
And it's a chess match just playing out. Evelina threw it down the gap. She's nice and safe, but this beautiful shot from Kristen with all the pressure in the world.
And take yet another look at it. You just cannot draw up that tee shot any better. Perfect speed, the line, the skip, everything she needed. Kristen Tatar parked. Here's Paige. Not enough turn on this gentle turnover. And Val, you really brought it to light that it feels as if Paige's mid-range and her approaches, you know, I think back to hole number 6. She had the huge drive on 6. By a long shot was closest to the pin, and then well overthrew the basket. And we're just seeing that the finesse, the touch. And she talked about that even at the last tournament at Ledgestone. She said, if anyone wants to beat me out on the course, 100-foot approach shots is the place to do it. So she knows that that is a troublesome spot in her game, but she's going to need to get it dialed in.
And isn't that just interesting to talk about? I mean, that seems like one of the most fundamental parts of anybody's game. But for Paige, we've seen it in the past. She goes with the jump putt rather than the touch shot to throw those shorter approach shots. But today, the strokes are really adding up because she's not able to execute.
Huge moment for Evelina. Can she keep pace? And that will be next to the pin and should be a par for Evelina, which means Kristen has an opportunity to go back to a 3-stroke advantage. Galadia's stand still, straddle putt, not enough power uphill. Paige still in trouble. This looks like a very uncomfortable pitch out next to the basket. And Paige is going to be taking a double bogey. And with that, she may be swapping positions with where Kat Murch is.
And I hate to continue to drive this in, but fresh in my mind is the Fierce documentary and what 2 upshots in the final round of Worlds last year, I mean, that allowed Katrina Allen to win the tournament. So very simple shots can lead to just these barely losses, even though the rest of the part of your game is solid. So that's a confidence building hole for Kristen Tatar.
And as I was just saying, with the double bogey, Kat Murch is going to jump into that 4th place position. She's got a 1-stroke advantage over Paige. Sarah Holcomb, who started off very hot, just picked up her first bogey, but still is having a solid round at 3 under par. You scroll down a little bit more, Kona Starpanis making a huge move today. She's up 12 positions. She's currently sitting at 6 under with just hole 18 to play. She may have the second hottest round of the weekend going right now, only bested by the opening round that we saw from Kristen Tatar. So even though it's the 3rd day and it's Championship Sunday, we typically refer to day 2 as moving day, but there's a little jockeying around for position here, and including Kona Starpanis. Like I said, what a round that she's putting together. We'll keep an eye on that and see if she can close out 18 with a par or even a birdie. Doing work out there, and thanks to our friends at 1010 Disc, we can see who does have the hottest rounds. And Kona, as we just said, with the 6 under so far, Evelina, Macy, and Kat Murch all sitting at 4 under along with Missy Gannon. Missy Gannon en route to trying to defend her title. She's going to come up short in doing so, but it looks like she's really putting it together here in her 3rd and final round. And Missy Gannon trying to ride some of that momentum from the big win last weekend, and this weekend just not her weekend, so to speak, but trying to close on a good note as she'll be heading into the World Championships.
And with Macy shooting a 4 under in this final round, that's 1 stroke worse than what it took for her to win this event last year. She won the event at 5 under par, and it just shows how the game has grown in this last year, and maybe just these changes in the course, making it a little bit more scoreable for the field.
And just over the last couple of holes, we've seen so many different crazy swings taking place. We're going to head back. We saw after Kristen had gone OB on her initial tee shot, then here she's throwing this approach to the basket that comes up short. She's out of bounds there. That's going to be en route to her taking a double bogey. Evelina had an opportunity to pick up 3 strokes on this hole, but that short miss putt meant that it was only 2. And then when Kristen Tatar had a chance to match Evelina on the next hole with a birdie, she misses that. So Evelina picks up a stroke. And then we come back here on the forehand shot by Tatar on hole 12. She parks it. She eventually taps that in, and she takes the birdie. So constantly back and forth between the two of them, especially over these last 3 holes.
And it has been kind of back and forth today with the pressure ramping up. I mean, Kristen, pressure on that upshot on hole 10, throws it a little bit too low, but then switching the pressure over to hole 12 after seeing Evelina go short, she nails that sidearm drive. So it's a little bit up and down. Kristen's looking for a little more consistency to keep it solid till the end.
On hole 13 here, the one hole that gave Kristen Tatar a bogey stroke during round number 1 en route to her 9 under. Certainly not a great spot to be. It could be worse, but that is far from good.
Yeah.
And what a difference a few feet might make here for Evelina and Kristen. And even better, improving upon that. And the two of them battling, but yet the sportsmanship, the friendliness, all still remains as we're here on hole number 13. Pierce will again be the only competitor to not go with a forehand tee shot. Let's see if she can dial it in. She's had a birdie look at this in the past. And Pierce yet again closest to the pin. A birdie look here on 13 from long range. We'll see if she can take advantage. And Kat Murch had taken a par on the previous hole, but here she is on the tee of 14. Trying to find center fairway because off to the left can be very punishing and cut off your angle. And speaking of angles, I want to throw it out to Brian and talk about what are we seeing specifically from Kristen Tatar's lie and how does it differ from what Evelina has?
Yeah, Kristen has pretty long look, maybe edge of circle too, but it's a little bit obstructed and you have that drop off to the right side. I would not doubt if she laid this one up and just took the 3. Evelina is in another spot, long look, a couple of trees in the way, so nothing too appetizing for either of them.
All right, and we see that Kristen just on the edge here, and I think back to round number 1 where she was maybe 10 or 15 feet left of this spot and she had absolutely nothing and she had to pitch out and actually concede the bogey. And here, as Brian just perfectly explained, she has a look, but this is going to be a pitch right up next to the pin, and she's going to be perfectly content with a par. Quickly, Evelina steps up and lays up for the par as well.
For Evelina, if she was more confident in her putting, that would have been a great chance for her to run at the birdie, but knowing that those shorter putts are providing her with so much stress, I'm glad to see her just conceding, just laying up for that one and maybe get another opportunity on the next hole.
Pierce for birdie from 13 meters. And truly an all or nothing go there, as that looks as if it is for sure gone out of bounds for Pierce. And she knew exactly what she was lining up. She knew of the danger there. She just had to hit something. If it didn't fall into the basket, it had to hit something, but it did not.
I'm right here, but I went right of the basket, so maybe here? Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that the line was it was down the hill. I was thinking it was just at the edge of the hill, and, you know, you go a little bit long, but you're still even with the basket. Now she's going to be on a side hill putting at this elevated pin.
sure she's got a clean swing here. What a comeback putt for Pierce.
That was huge for Paige. You know, the round's not going as she hoped today, but to have little moments of success.
And I have to pick my jaw up from that one. That was high and right for Evelina, but it does get pulled into the basket just barely. That was a near miss for Evelina. You can't miss any of this action, though. We're heading over to hole 14. We'll be right back.
I mean, it's literally the most popular disc of all time in the history of the sport. At its core, it's one of the most important tools a player has in their bag, a dependable, straight-flying mid-range. But the legacy of the Buzz goes a lot deeper than just that.
Hello, my name is Keith Welling. I am the CEO of TrueBank. We have 8 convenient locations in central Iowa for your service, with our main headquarters here in Indianola.
We have a wonderful staff here to serve you with any financial need. We have a dedication to customer service that we are very proud of.
It is important to help our communities thrive. TrueBank is proud to donate year after year to local organizations and events.
If disc golf is your game, make Gotta Go, Gotta Throw your disc golf warehouse. With a huge selection of discs, bags, baskets, carts, shirts, and more. GottaGo.GottaThrow.com has all the tools to take your game to the next level. Shop online or our Golden Valley, Minnesota store. Free shipping with all online orders over $75. Online or in-store, get what you need for the game you love. GottaGo.GottaThrow.com, your disc golf warehouse. In the game since 1993.
And welcome back. This is what I was noticing. I wanted to take another look at this. Again, a short-range putt. High and right side. If that would have fallen out, I don't think you could have been all too shocked, but she does get it to drop in. She's going to be happy to move on with the par, but not a confident putting stroke there by Evelina. Back on the tee with Kristen Tatar. She sits at 13 under and has a 3-stroke advantage.
Hole 14, there's no out of bounds in the tall grass on this fairway, but they're on the second shots they have to clear an out of bounds creek that runs in the middle of the fairway. Kristen has a different game plan on this one, landing on the right-hand side, but Evelina, I like the skip and the fade to the left. You're going to be more in line with the second part of the hole, which is more like a tunnel, so you do want to have a good position. It's Katrina Allen for par. Back with our lead card. Macy, nice height on this one. It slows down, fading to the left.
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but that feels like that's the best shot we've seen this entire weekend off the tee here.
Yeah, it was perfect. I mean, she had it flipping up to flat the whole way from hyzer, and that's kind of what you need to get to where Macy got. A lot of stock hyzers tend to fade out too early, so yeah, that was really solid.
And Brian, a follow-up is, what is Paige Pierce going to be dealing with? Any eyes on that? Because that looked yanked well off to the right-hand side.
Yeah, it looks like she's dealing with a pitch out, honestly. It was really deep in there, and it's really thick, too. There's going to be a little search party unless they get lucky.
Well, head over there and go help him, Brian.
Yeah. Well, she didn't command that he runs over there and finds her disc, as we've seen her do in the past when I'm out there. Here's Kat Murch. This is a birdie look up ahead on 14's green.
Dead on line, just a little high.
Now Jessica Weiss has a birdie look. Almost identical reaction just off the top of the basket.
All hands on deck as the group heads into the woods to help Paige find her disc. Got 3 minutes to find your disc until it's declared a lost disc, and you'll have to take it from where you previously threw. And those woods do sure look thick.
And Brian, maybe you could clarify, is there a spotter on this hole? And if so, I feel like they're usually on the other side of the fairway because most people leak left, or no?
You know, I think there are 2 spotters here, but she threw that so early and so right that it was nearly impossible for the spotter to catch up to it.
Somebody found it?
Yeah, we found it.
And thankfully we are hearing that it was found.
And now Paige's caddy has to find Paige.
The struggles are real out here at the moment.
Wow, and look at this, Terry. It's maybe 5 feet off the fairway. Very fortunate, I'd say. Paige maybe could even reach out with the patent pending and get back to the fairway.
And from a strategic standpoint, is Paige hoping to get to maybe where Macy already is, Brian? Would that be a good spot for her?
Oh, definitely. That's exactly what she's looking at.
She basically does. That was a great upshot from Paige.
Up ahead on the tee of 15, Kat Murch. Just trying to get up on the hillside, make the corner, and that'll put her in good position.
Kat Murch and Paige are battling. Kat Murch is up in 4th place, 2 strokes ahead of Paige and Sarah Holcomb.
And we touched on it earlier, such an opportunity for Macy Valadiaz and Kat Murch to pick up some significant points here with a solid finish, as this is our last regular season Elite Series event. Of course, additional bonus points are available at the World Championships, and then we head into the playoffs. But here's Paige Pierce with her 3rd shot, still an opportunity to get up and down for par. And that likely won't be happening from that position. She pulled it also to the right. She got a very favorable kick to land in the middle of the fairway. So now she's looking at a bogey at best. And I just mentioned Kat Murch sitting in 7th in the tour standings. She'd love to find a way into the bye, into the semifinals. That's going to be a tall task, but Kat Murch for sure en route to picking up some serious points this weekend.
So Kristen on the right-hand side of the fairway is in that position to throw a sidearm shot around the corner.
Looking for a skip as that comes in. It gets exactly that. And Kristen Tatar again rises to the occasion, putting all the pressure back on her closest chaser in Evelina. Kristen Tatar, an easy birdie look here on 14.
And to me, I'm questioning that drive and thinking, why would you want to land on this right-hand side? But she favors the forehand. She feels more confident in throwing that type of shot specifically. And every round that we've seen, she's able to hit that shot time and time again.
So impressive, as now we're watching Evelina, who has to answer. And Evelina puts it on a perfect line as well. Not the shot you'd necessarily expect to see there, Val, especially from Evelina. You were thinking backhand, weren't you?
Yeah, more space on that right-hand side to throw a nice straight backhand shot. And Evelina choosing the more difficult technical shot, but the way she releases this with a slight anhyzer allows this to fly straight at the pin. And the control these players have over a forehand is only something I could ever dream about.
Now, Valadiaz. And far from what you would expect to see out of Macy, who I feel like is one of our strongest forehand competitors out on the course, and seeing two perfect forehands just before maybe added to the pressure of saying, wow, you guys just threw perfect shots. Meanwhile, Macy was set up in the best position and doesn't take advantage of it.
Macy has Kat Murch also creeping in on her. She's just 2 strokes over Kat. So there's a lot of movement that Kat on the chase card can make happen.
Standstill for Macy, and this is one she's going to be thinking about on the next drive that she takes, or whether that's to the Worlds or wherever she's heading next in the next few days. She'll think back to hole 14. Man, I threw a perfect drive and then wasn't able to get up and down and walk away with a birdie. Easy cleanup for her to come back here in 2023's version. And Kat Murch, though, continues to apply the pressure. You just mentioned that she's now hunting down Macy Valadiaz for that 3rd place spot. Kat Murch trying to get to 6 under. Pierce picks up a bogey. And that means that Paige Pierce has gone 4 over in the last 3 holes. Disappointing par for Valadiaz. So Tatar is in for the birdie. Evelina also in for the birdie. So the chess match continues between the two of them. I guess the real question, though, is we're seeing Paige 100% out of contention here at this event. Plenty of color on that scorecard. Not the good colors at that. She sits at 2 under. She's not going to be taking a title down here. Val, what does that mean for someone even as decorated and as confident as Paige Pierce is? She's got the World Championships coming up right around the corner. What does a performance this weekend mean, if anything, as she heads to the Worlds?
Well, you can always take it two different ways. You can feel, down on your luck. You feel like you're kind of trying to dig yourself out of a hole. You're fighting back. And for Paige, I feel like this could be that motivation she could need to fire her up, maybe a little bit of extra time in the putting, around the basket, out in the field, maybe putting a little bit more focus on dialing in those shots, because she knows that not everything's going easy going like it has in the past and in the previous years, where she usually is the favorite going into Worlds. But now this gives her a little bit of something to fight for and to just dig a little bit deeper, because she knows the competition is heating up.
And I think that's maybe one of the biggest takeaways, because Kristen Tatar right here, as we just saw her throw a near perfect drive on 15, most people put her in the front of that conversation when it comes to a World's favorite. And Kristen Tatar may be doing exactly what you're talking about in terms of how she's going to assess this and take that confidence moving into next weekend, or moving into our World Championships around the corner. It's big smile there from Evelina. She's off on the shy left side of the fairway, but things are looking good for Kristen Tatar at the moment.
And I really feel like this tournament is such a good warm-up for the World's competition. It requires those big distant shots, but accuracy and placement shots, leading to strategy and how you can attack some of the holes out at Country Club and the Jones layout. And we know that Kristen Tatar, she took down the DDO this year, so she is certainly a favorite.
Looking for that to swing. She's calling for everyone to move out of the way, and she does get the green flag, but too much power and not enough turn that we're seeing out of the drive from Paige Pierce.
We'll take a look at the flyover, and this is what the players have on their first drive, trying to throw it nice and straight, but yeah, allow it to swing a little bit earlier than we saw from Paige. You want to get around this corner as best as you can, but really a nice straight shot to get you in the placement right here where the sun is shining. That second shot is just straightforward, but you're working with this sloping fairway that goes down to the left and into the trees, and that gravity tends to pull the disc down. And so you want to throw it out wide to the right, but there is the out of bounds line with the tall grass that you need to be aware of. But as long as you can push it out to the right, the disc will fade back to the basket. But that sloping green makes it so challenging to land inside the circle. And you can see Haiti landing on that left-hand side, and that collection point we see a lot of people landing in. And she makes good.
Yeah, and she knew it about 2/3 of the way to the pin that she was converting on the birdie look. Macy's going to go take a look at what the wind is doing up on the fairway.
This is going to be such a tough shot for Macy. Because she's downhill, she has to throw the second shot uphill and then allow it to carry back downhill to the basket.
And Kat Murch continues on her tear here in the third round. Murch 5 under through 15.
A lot of hyzer on this. Can it get down? And it got down quick enough to land still in the short grass. I think that's all you can really ask for from where Macy landed on her drive.
Trying to dial in the exact distance. Kristen Tatar looking to throw her second And Brian, talk to us about the advantage of being on the right versus left side of the fairway here, and how you think our players will attack.
Yeah, I mean, being on that right side, the high side of this hill, just gives you a lot straighter look at the basket. I mean, you can be down on that left side. You'll have a little bit more distance, but it's a bit more of a blind shot. So I think this is just a really well-designed hole. There's risk-reward from pretty much everywhere.
And Kristen throws an almost perfect second shot to put her in position for yet another birdie. And most importantly, applying the pressure back on Evelina to answer herself.
And Evelina not in a great position. She was lining up both the backhand and the forehand.
And she has to be very careful with this, because if this stalls out, she could find the OB on the right side of the fairway. Too much angle could put her in the woods on the left. This is a delicate shot. And she heads toward the left side woods, but it does kick out for her. So a very, very favorable kick, but well out of position, looking at a par. And Kristen might be gaining another stroke on her here.
Yeah, that was going to be a tough shot, especially that Evelina had to go to the standstill because of the out-of-position drive. It really had to take a miracle for her to hit the perfect shot. So I think she's thankful that she's not in the woods, but likely going to lose that stroke.
Pierce with her second. And this needs to get down to the ground quickly, otherwise it's going to be leaking left and finding the woods line, and it's done just that. So Paige Pierce will have an obstructed putt for her birdie look. Up ahead, Kat Murch on 16. Murch just one stroke behind Macy Valadiaz at the moment. And that's off the mark. It's going to be safe, but likely well out of position on the short left side of the hill on 16.
And continue the conversation about Worlds. Thinking back here, over 20 years ago, 2004 World Championship. The winner, Brigitte Lagerholm out of Sweden. Our only international player that we've ever seen take down a World Championship title in the men or the women's division. And knowing that we're very close to seeing the next World Championship crown, I would love to see another international win.
And Val, as you were just mentioning it, here's Brigitte. The World's 2004, many revere this as one of the greatest world championships ever hosted, as it was a pro and amateur worlds combined. And your FPO champion, Brigitte Lagerholm. Now Macy Valadiaz will pitch next to the pin and be walking away with a par.
And it's tough for the position that Macy's in to know that, yeah, she's not keeping up as best as she could or likely wanted to as she headed into the round today, but she's in such a crucial spot to just keep her mind in it, knowing what could be happening on the chase card. I'm assuming she's not paying attention to that, but it's something that the lead card, with all that pressure, you just need to stick with it. You need to keep up with that, the momentum that's on that lead card, so you know that you won't get caught by anyone else behind you.
Kat Murch, like you were just mentioning, Kat Murch is trying to hunt her down. We'll keep an eye on that battle for the third podium spot. And Paige Pierce at the moment has dipped from her 4th place position all the way into a tie for 6th as Sarah Holcomb continues to have a good round today. In fact, Sarah Holcomb with the best round in the FPO division, only 2nd to Kona Panissa with her 6. Holcomb is at 5 under for today. So here's Pierce outstretched. It's going to be tough to generate enough power to get to the pin here. Oh, she has the power, but just not the angle needed.
There's no layup in Paige at this moment. I mean, to see her run with that putt with out of bounds so close, to see her out of position here, doing everything she can to give herself a look. And there's nothing to lose really for her. It's just maybe gaining a little bit more experience to go for those big shots.
And a huge opportunity here for Kristen Tatar. This is for birdie on 15.
Does not let the nerves take control over that one.
Bella Diaz in for the easy par. Evelina now 4 back, assuming she converts here. So with just 3 holes left to play, Evelina Salonen has a 4-stroke deficit to Kristen Tatar. We have a pair of par 3s and a par 5 that remain, and we've got plenty of great golf remaining here this year. We invite you to join us on the Disc Golf Network, where you can get exclusive access to the first few rounds of our tournaments. DiscGolfNetwork.com is where you can check things out. Of course, if you're a PDGA member, you're getting a discount at 50%, and you have access to so much additional content that is produced throughout the week. Join us over on DiscGolfNetwork.com.
And of course, it's fun to see how the tournament ends up on these final rounds and to see the champions get crowned, but to see the journey that it takes these players to get to those moments. I mean, round 1 of this event was so exciting to see Kristen Tatar with that near perfect performance. It's definitely worth the money to catch the entire event.
Kat Murch had to pitch out to this position, so this is her 3rd. And we see her with a very aggressive run at it. And that's going to check up next to the pin, though, but she's looking at a bogey on 16.
And this hole's just over 300 feet, but so steeply downhill, and then there's an out-of-bounds line that circles the pin. There's so much drama that can happen near the basket, but Jessica checking up, hitting the pyramid, staying safe.
And Laine pitching up next to the pin as well.
I'm getting similarities in my mind to the layup or the go for it on hole 10 and on those last shots. Hole 16 is very similar. I mean, there's no layup on 16. You just have to commit to the shot and go for it. You know that it's risky near the pin. You know it's likely you could skip out of bounds, but it's even riskier and harder to lay up on this one.
Oh, and in and out. That was one of the most unique reactions we've ever seen, and really only because of the angle in which she was throwing it from that could happen. But I'm just shocked. That was a very, very crazy reaction. After more than a half dozen shots have been thrown since she teed, here's Katrina Allen for her birdie look, and she's going to come up short. It was definitely all the way in the basket. However, none of the chains helped slow it down. And because of the angle in which it was coming in from up above, it managed to bounce back out. I have never seen something in that way. I've seen, you know, shots that maybe could have stayed in, but that was very unique.
Of all the shots that you've seen, I mean, I think it's interesting to see how impressed you are that you haven't seen one like that.
Not like that. And again, because of where she was standing, you know, there's a lot of things that have to go, in this case, wrong for that not to stay in. And I get it, it was to the right. I'm not suggesting that it had to stay, but watch it hit almost no chain and then just bounce straight back out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And heartbreaking for Kat, because really there's nothing different that she would likely do on that putt. It was a great attempt.
And speaking of bouncing around, Sarah Hokum moving up 5 spots so far today. She sits at 4 under and is 2 behind Kat Murch. But however, Kat Murch still is yet to fully tap out on hole number 16, which is exactly what they've been waiting for here. And I think Sarah Hokum may be all knotted up with Murch by the end of this hole. That's the danger zone. From there, at best, that's just going to be a pitch under the pin. Remember, she has a 4-stroke advantage with just 3 holes left to play.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and that was such a good angle. And I don't think we're going to see any stroke swings here on hole 16. That's inbounds. We're going to take a look at line A up ahead on 17. And peering the gap with ease and then getting it to sit down right next to the pin. She's looking at another birdie to add to her scorecard. That's going to be on the left side, but more distance than the other 2 competitors that pushed off to the left. So Paige will have a look for birdie.
And if her previous attempts have told us anything, I assume she's running at that one.
Trina Allen pulls that to the right, but then kicks to the left. Hole 17, our shortest hole on the course at 235 feet, but no shortage of challenge there, trying to hit that very, very narrow fairway on the right side.
Jessica hits on the right-hand side. There's a very thick clump of woods over there. So it's not likely she can see the basket if she's deep inside.
So you can go like park and just have the push and then or you can just go to the whatever you can do.
Brian, what do you suppose Macy's contemplating here? Is this something that she can give a run at it?
No, she's a little bit too far away. I think she's just trying to figure out this lie. It's a little bit obstructed. She just wants to make sure she doesn't slide into the out of bounds.
Catches edge and starts to roll, but toward the pin, and then it eventually checks up. So Macy Valdez looking to save her par.
The risky thing here is it's a little bit of a hyzer throw. So Kristen needs to focus on, as the disc is landing, that it lands nice and flat and doesn't catch edge and roll. Well done.
So that'll be a tap in for Kristen Tatar. She will remain at 5 under. And worried about the exact same thing was Evelina Salonen, and she also executes that perfectly. So she'll remain at 5 under for today's round, but what that means is a 4-stroke deficit with just 2 holes left to play. Here's Kat Murch on 17. It's going to be a long look for birdie, maybe just 1 or 2 trees in her way. Pierce looking to give this a full send, knowing OB directly behind the basket. This again, an all or nothing putt.
Hit it.
Manages just to hang on the very edge and remain safe. So no real drama on this one. It could certainly happen on 16, but everybody walks away. Not a lot of stress.
Here's the long birdie look we saw from the drive. 1 tree to get around, and Kat Murch from way downtown. What a follow-up to the double bogey on 16. Kat Murch moves to 5 under, and that puts her in 4th. That's a 4 under effort from Kat Murch today to get to the collective 5 under. 2 strokes back of Macy Valdez.
Wow, to know that she came into today's round after 2 rounds at just 1 under, and then to shoot a 4 under today, pure redemption. And for Kat Murch, I feel like this course is very similar to her home course out at Jonesboro. So feeling comfortable with the big shots, the rolling hills, and the technical shots too as we fly through 17. Par 3, but it's a tunnel the entire way. I like the backhand play on this one just because if it finishes off to the left, you still have a relatively open look. You've got a few of those larger trees in your way, but anything finishing off to that right, you've got that clump of trees, and if you do land in there, it's not likely you can make your putt.
And you may like the backhand play, but Kristen Tatar says, I've got this. I'm going to go right up the right side with the turnover, playing the mid-range. And she stays out of trouble, most importantly. Evelina catches right side tree, kicks back to the left. That's going to be out of position. It's going to be a long look at best at birdie. But again, not seeing any significant stroke swings between Evelina and Kristen here, which, if so, would give Kristen a 4-shot lead going into the final hole. And somehow missing every tree, we see Macy with the forehand drive.
And Evelina's got some distance on Macy, who's back in 3rd place, but still the story could be told between Macy and Kat Murch. So we'll have to see what Kat does on hole 18, as goes for Macy.
And this looks pured by Paige Pierce. And yet again, appears to be closest to the pin for Pierce. I'm going to roll that Zucker replay, look at it from the catch angle as it fades in, just the right amount of speed, and Pierce on the wood chips looking for a birdie.
This is no easy shot for Evelina. Hits the gap. Well done.
Murch on the tee of 18. Pushing up to the left side, and that's going to be inbounds for Kat Murch. A solid tee shot on her final hole of the tournament. Kristen's birdie effort comes up short, but again, no problems for her as she will take a 4-stroke lead heading into the final hole.
And knowing that the holes are running out, Kristen can feel a little bit more comfortable that the main goal, just get par. If you can get par on 18, you're good to go. It is not likely that anything could happen. Nobody's catching you at this point. The tournament is yours as long as you just finish out 18.
Yeah, and I'd go almost as far as saying she could be even comfortable with as much as a bogey or double bogey. So difficult to birdie hole 18, and that's exactly what Evelina would need to do. And then Kristen still has a few strokes cushion after that. So certainly all of Kristen Tatar's efforts throughout the weekend likely leading into one of the largest added caches we've ever seen for a 3-round Elite Series event on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. The efforts by Trubank and the Des Moines club and area, well, record-breaking this weekend. Great to see as Kristen is going to retrieve her disc and move over to the 54th hole of competition. And we even have some specific statistics there showing you that $62,500 added cash to the purse, bringing it into 6 figures for a total purse. And that is a record for a 3-day Disc Golf Pro Tour event. $7,000 for first place here in the FPO division. And we're seeing paychecks last weekend, what Missy had this weekend, that we're going to see $7,000. Val, did you retire too early? Do you need to get back out there? Because you've got some big checks to cash.
No, I got a big check in my closet over here that I did cash a few years ago. But it is outstanding to see where the sport has allowed to grow. I mean, to see triple digits in the purse. I mean, back when we were playing in tournaments, I mean, you were basically playing for the entry fees that all the players committed to. It was very difficult to get that added cash, and you got to think of all the efforts that were put together with the tournament directors, the volunteers, and the entire community supporting the Des Moines Disc Golf Club. I mean, what an outstanding feat to allow for that much added cash.
Yeah, we have come a long way. I think back to $7,000 as a check that's going to be handed out to Kristen Tatar here today. And I think about that used to be 2 or 3 months of solid play in the FPO division. And that was if you won or performed well over a handful of events. If you were walking home with $7,000, you were doing a pretty good job. You know, $1,200 for a victory on a given event, $700, whatever the case might be. So to see a $7,000 paycheck after 3 days of work out here, very, very impressive. And hats off to the Disc Golf Pro Tour and most importantly here, our Des Moines community. And that is a misfire big time by Kat Murch. She's played so well today. Just trying to close out hole 18. She's running into trouble.
Here's a little more perspective. That big check that's sitting in my closet from the 2016 World Championships, $5,000. And that was huge at the time. So Kristen Tatar, great warm up and a little pocket change, but the big tournament is on the line coming up next, and this is a great warm up for her. The competition was there. It put the pressure on for her, and both her and Evelina, great performances, but this will only help them as they lead up to some of the most high pressure situations that they'll ever be in with a world championship title on the line.
Jessica Weiss on 18. Jessica Weiss having a little bit of a rough go here to close out her tournament. We've seen her with 5 bogey strokes here on the back 9. She has fallen 9 positions at the moment into a tie for 15th. Last year she was the runner-up. And Val, I don't know if back in your day you had a full yeet in 2016, but here in 2022, they're left and right, including that one from Paige Pierce. All thanks to our friends over at Hooligan Disc. Make sure you check them out today. Sometimes if you yeet too early, you just never know what's going to happen.
You might get hungry later. Wait, no, did I not use that right? Great shot there from Kristen.
Big pull there by Evelina Salonen. Macy Valadiaz with her final drive off the tee here of 18. And improving upon Paige's yeet, it looks like we've got an Evelina yeet.
Boom. And it takes so much power with that uphill climb. It's deceiving for these players, because they don't realize how steep it is and how high they have to release it. And just the natural form and technique from Evelina. She's got that higher release point and full power.
And as they move up the fairway, we're going to check in maybe one last time with Brian. I said it way back earlier in the round that they're making your job easy out there. You didn't have to hunt down too many discs. But any parting shots before we let you go here today?
I mean, Kristen Tatar is incredible. I can't say it enough. She's done so many amazing things this year. Hasn't gotten any worse than 3rd place. This is going to be her 3rd Elite Series victory. World Championships next week. I mean, even with an injury, she's doing this. I'm just blown away at her level and how she's continuing to push the division as a whole. It's amazing to watch.
We completely agree with you, and the success that Kristen Tatar has had this year is beyond impressive. Also, thank you so much for your insights out around the course there, Brian.
And it's true, you mentioned, I mean, there were some moments that stopped or prevented Kristen Tatar from playing the full, complete season. I mean, not able to make it out for women's nationals, you know, having this injury that she's fighting herself back from. It hasn't been smooth sailing, but Kristen has worked hard and is still maintained to be one of the best players in the world despite having that full season like everyone else.
You can roll.
You know, and I know we keep mentioning that Kristen Tatar has finished no worse than third this year. The only time she did that last year was at the World Championships, where she finished fifth. The year before that, finished third or better at every single event as well. And 2019 is the only other time where you've seen her finish off of the podium. So it's not just this year and the consistency that she's had. You go back to last year and even the year before that. Such a dominant and fierce competitor. And I know I use the word fierce as we're watching Paige Pierce line up, but she has certainly been one of the #1 contenders going up against Paige and taking her down more often than really anyone else as of late. And Pierce is off the mark. And I'm going to follow that up by saying Paige herself, along with Katrina and a number of other competitors, have said, we enjoy the additional competition that we've been seeing. Kristen Tatar, Henna, Evelina, all coming to the States, Katie Tati lately, all of them becoming more and more in the front running for these podium spots and in contention for wins. And it's making the FPO division that much more exciting week in and week out.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking of, you know, every generation learns from the last. And for Kristen Tatar now getting to the peak of her game, you know, what could make a player like Paige Pierce even better, even greater, is that consistency and the consistent play every weekend. Sometimes she's hot, and when she's hot, she's unbeatable, but sometimes the switch just flips and anybody could catch her. Kristen Tatar is one of the most consistent players that we've seen in our sport, not just from her play, but every time she throws, it is the exact same motion, whether it's backhand or forehand, and just that consistent putting style makes her so solid around the green.
And here's Kat Murch trying to close it out. Can she do so with some fireworks? And that is a solid round nonetheless, even though she's going to finish with a bogey here on 18. Kat Murch with a very impressive performance out here this weekend. She is going to finish in 4th place. Paige dialed in, ready to go. Pierce currently sits in 5th. And depending on how she closes out 18, she may even lose position to Sarah Holcomb and Erica Stinchcomb. Oh, it does pop back out, although it was off the mark. Gets a favorable kick. So from there, she should have a relatively easy up and down. She likely will be finishing in the tie for 6, as I was just referencing, which would mean she would be knotted up with Sarah Holcomb and Erica Stinchcomb. Trophy presentation awaits Kristen Tatar. Valadiaz in range of the basket.
comforting knowing you have strokes to lose even on this technical shot. She keeps it inside, away from the out of bounds. No problem at all.
And the gallery isn't going to be provided with any significant drama here on 18 as Kristen Tatar is making her way up the fairway with this 4-stroke advantage going into the final hole, and really just running into trouble on one hole on this entire course here today's round, and that was hole number 10. She had multiple OB strokes, and things certainly got much closer for the next couple of moments, but then Kristen Tatar got dialed and focused, picking up 3 birdies in the next 4 or 5 holes, and she will fend off the closest competitor in Evelina Salonen.
And I looked up some stats for Macy Valadias. I mean, this is such an incredible performance for her. She mentioned yesterday it's been a while since she's been on a lead card, and today she played so consistent to gain herself that 3rd place spot, the best finish that we've seen out of her in an Elite Series event in her career.
And Paige buzzing past the basket, almost trying to provide the fireworks I was just asking for. This approach dialed in terms of the angle, but just too much power.
Paige keeping it interesting, continuing with that all or nothing type of mentality.
Big deep breath. Macy Valadias, great workout here this weekend. As Val just said, looking at a podium finish and gaining some additional confidence and momentum going into the World Championships. Kristen will pitch up next to the pin. She'll have the victory tap in to come. And Evelina comes up short. However, her 2nd place finish is secured. Pierce. The putt to finish with bogey. Valadias again 3rd place, finishing at 6 under. Your runner-up, Evelina Salonen. And for the 3rd time on the Elite Series this year, Kristen Tatar, your champion here in Des Moines.
Des Moines Challenge, presented by Discraft, FPO champion, Kristen Tatar.
Kristen Tatar, crowned champion for the 3rd time this year on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and joining a very elite club in doing so. And right now it looks like she's greenside with Brian Earhart. Brian, talk to us about Kristen Tatar and this historic victory.
Joined here by Kristen Tatar, the champion of the Des Moines Challenge. Kristen, it's been a long week, a lot of confusing schedule changes. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling amazing. I'm really proud of myself that I pulled it off this time. Yeah.
Val Jenkins just today on the broadcast said that her payout for her 2016 World Championship was $5,000, and today for a 3-round Elite Series you're taking home $7,000. Can you just talk about how it feels being a part of a division that's growing so much financially but also competitively?
It's incredible. Even during my own career, which has not been that long, I've seen the change, and it's incredible. I still find it very hard to wrap my head around it. I want to thank everybody who's put effort into this, and it's amazing.
Obviously, we have the World Championships coming up. You haven't finished any worse than 3rd place this year. Again, this is your 3rd Elite Series victory this season, so you're pretty much considered the favorite next week. With that said, how does it feel to play so well now going into that tournament?
Definitely a confidence booster, but previous victories don't matter anything. It's going to be a new tournament, new conditions, new challenge, so I try not to think about it.
And last question for you, are you going to get straight to Emporia after today, or are you going to take a couple of days off to rest?
I'm going to head over there tomorrow. I'm still going to go watch Silver finish his round, and then we're just going to chill out here for the evening.
Well, fantastic week. Congratulations and good luck next week.
So poised and yet so humble, and my biggest takeaway from that was she said previous victories don't matter. We talk about momentum, we talk about confidence building, but she says it doesn't matter. It's a new set of challenges. What do you say to that, Val?
She couldn't have answered that any perfectly. I was envisioning myself in that position as the player being interviewed, and if you were to tell me you are now considered the favorite, you know, that's the type of kind of relief and confidence, of course, you want to have, but you can't take it for granted. You can't go into an event just assuming that you're going to take it down, especially with a world championship title on the line. Kristen, great mind frame with saying, you know, I'm going to take it with stride. I'm going to attack it as I do every other event, 1 round at a time. And I think that's the perfect way to go into it, because the pressure's going to build. And if she can just keep herself calm through it all, she is the favorite. I think she's going to have a great chance.
Well, today she came in with a 4-stroke advantage. She won with that same 4-stroke advantage, so any pressures were squashed, and she held off her fellow European competitor in Evelina. It was such an incredible performance. We're going to break more of it down in the OTB after show. Looking forward to joining you then. We'll see you in a moment.
We are here at Idlewild Disc Golf Course in Burlington, Kentucky for the You Play Community Clinic.
And
Just being out at the clinics, at the course, really getting to engage with the fans that love disc golf, that are here to watch the pros, seeing how excited some of these people get to be taught, by James Conrad and Paige.
Every kid showed up to our clinic, received a free disc and a mini. Like, these kids want to play tournaments. They want to be the next Paige Pierce, Paul McBeth. The future is so bright for disc golf.
They say, like, you're the greatest of all time, but in my mind, that is not true. There are 2 other women that I'm tied with. Until I get that 6th world title, that is still up for debate. So this is so important to me to cement my name in disc golf history as the most winning woman to ever play the game.
Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me in. Please don't let me into my zone. I just need some time of my own. All these people trying to get a conversation. You can conversate to that tone. My God up on that throne, yeah. So I'm never alone, yeah. Ballin' can't beat me up 'cause I'm back in my zone now.
The Millennium Draco is an overstable 9-speed utility driver that's great for Hausers, backhand or forehand. Get yours at golfdisc.com.
Last year's World Championships, just exciting edge-of-your-seat action.
Got it!
This year, the PDGA World Championships return to Emporia, Kansas. If you are a fan of disc golf, you're going to want to watch the World Championships this year. And whether it's coming here to be a part of history or tuning into the Disc Golf Network, you are not going to want to miss a single throw. The only question is, how are you going to watch?
I wish I was there.
Welcome back, everyone. We want to make sure you know about the Holy Shot, available now on Disc Golf Network. Documentary made with regards to last year's World Championships. Let's take a look at the trailer here.
He's way out of position. Like,
he's gonna have to force it, though.
I don't think he can.
Think it's even possible?
It's in the impossible range.
The way Worlds ended last year, you couldn't have wrote that in a book.
He's trying to make this, right?
I imagine he's going to take a stab at it. He's got such great control with these left to rights with his putter.
I had to like sit there and stare at it. After the initial reaction, I had to like process.
If you don't even think it's a sport, watching this moment has to get you pumped up.
I think next to the marriage to my wife and the birth of my 3 daughters, probably the greatest moment of my life.
But you got to know how they got there. That moment, the context of that moment.
I think we were all kind of holding our breaths, hoping this is going to work, but expecting that it won't.
We still have some shortcomings.
These things that are majorly blowing up in the face of the sport.
It's unfortunate to have to deal with on such an elite level.
Definitely you could feel the tension.
You're going to make mistakes, and you got to own them. And that was a mistake.
It felt like a game, a hobby, and in the back of your mind somewhere you're like, are we ever going to get there?
We just had to do our best to continue with the World Championships and continue to put on the best tournament that we could.
He's going to need the shot of the century.
It just felt like something in the air.
It's a must do or go home.
And certainly a shot that changed history and the entire, well, composition of all of professional disc golf and even at a greater level, professional sports. Val, I know you were on site. The World Championships are right around the corner. We saw drama, of course, on that MPO side, but we also saw it on the FPO side. Kristen Tatar, we keep talking about her as a front runner. Paige Pierce is going after her 6th world title. Kat wants to defend hers and pick up her 3rd. What do you make of everything that's about to unfold?
Yeah, Worlds Week is just something to experience. You know, every player, you know, every tournament that you enter, you should be entering it with the expectations to win. And think of how life-changing an event win like the World Championships can be for a player. And monumentous for James Conrad to hit that shot, to get that win. And then the story on the other side, Paige trying to get her 6th, but then Katrina comes back, and after such a span, she finally wins her 2nd world title. So this is the pinnacle of our sport. It's a week not to miss, and you want to catch every round leading up to that to tell the true, full story. It's going to be exciting. I mean, this is what we wait for all year long. You know, all these events are great, but it all builds up to the World Championships.
Well, and Kristen Tatar said anything that's happened up until this point really doesn't matter because she's going to be moving into the World Championships fully prepped, and she's got to get ready to go. And we've seen she's seen success, not I. She's seen success at the Dynamic Disc Open, which of course acted as a great practice and set the stage for where she'll be in just a few short days. And today, she was also getting it done out there, picking up a number of birdies, including a great start off of 1 and 2, putting herself right next to the basket in both cases. Then she heads over here to hole number 5. Stays in bounds, isn't able to capitalize on that good break, but she then heads over to 6, picks up the birdie there. A few holes later, she's on 8, puts herself into position. Really the perfect position. Comes up just a few feet short. She'll tap that in. She was 4 under heading into the back 9. And after a miscue over there on hole number 10, a couple holes later, she's back on 12, parking that, keeping the pressure on Evelina, who had cut the lead to just 2 at that point. And then she steps up here on hole number 15. She picked up a birdie on 14 and then does this on 15. That was essentially all she wrote. That's all she needed. At that point, after she tapped that in, she had a 4-stroke lead, and that's what she maintained throughout the rest of the round. Evelina just couldn't quite step up and chip away anymore, so Kristen was able to coast into victory.
Yeah, it's huge. And to think of Evelina, she was close to catching Kristen at so many points in this tournament, but it was the putting again that just held her back just that much, and even at short range. And that is going to be something that Evelina is going to have to figure out if she wants to be in contention for Worlds. Because if you can't make those short putts, you're not going to be able to have that strong mental game to win the title. And Kristen Tatar, just fantastic performance, and like you said, great warm-up for what we'll be facing at the Worlds.
Well, and I'm looking at our top 3 competitors on the podium here this weekend. Kristen, Evelina, and Macy. Think about how well-rounded their games were this weekend. There were so many times you'd watch them step up, execute a great backhand drive, and whether it was a drive or an approach, they're not hesitant to then flip the disc around or flip their body around the other direction and then go with a forehand. In fact, so many times today we saw all 3 of them going with forehand tee shots, forehand approaches, just that comfort level of knowing you can put either spin on the disc, that you're going to be able to attack a basket or attack a fairway or even a very tight wooded shot like we saw on hole 14 when they were punching through the gaps. So impressive. And Kristen did the same on hole number 17 as well. Very small gap, 250 feet, just able to pierce it right up the middle. Exactly what she needed. Will that accuracy be as required at the courses over there in Emporia? Maybe not, but knowing your comfort level and knowing that you can fight the wind with either direction is such an advantage.
Yeah, I would agree. And the fact that even if you're out of position, they still had to execute the shot with confidence to save themselves. And that's a lot of the holes that we'll see at Jones and the Country Club. And so these players, they weren't scared to hit the shots, and it was very impressive to watch our lead card today.
Well, we saw Paige Pierce fall off the pace a little bit here today. We thought she was going to be right there as a contender. She got off to a pretty good start, but unfortunately, she just seemed to kind of fade away in the back half of that round, and she finishes in that tie for 5th. We know Paige always has a lot of thoughts on her mind, and she's not shy about sharing them. She caught up with the PDGA's own Grant Zellner. Let's hear what she had to say just after she completed the tournament.
With Paige Pierce, after a top 5 finish here in Des Moines, the focus, of course, turns towards Worlds. What do you take from an event like this in terms of your final preparations for Worlds?
Yeah, honestly, Des Moines, this was a great Pickard Park. It was a great warm-up for Worlds. It's a really similar type of golf, you know, OBs on the sides of the fairway, downhill, uphill, and lots of challenging wind shots. So I love the way my discs were flying when I released them on time. So I think that's what I focus on moving forward into Worlds is my discs are flying how they need to. I just need to work on my grip. I'm having some late releases, and that's causing me to have to scramble. But Emporia, there's not too much woods, so I should be fine there, and I'm happy with the way my discs are flying.
What will you do between now and Worlds? Will you play more rounds? Will you do some field work? Will you try to take advantage of rest? What will it be that you do to finally prepare for the grind that will be 5 rounds in Emporia?
Yeah. Well, luckily it's only 5 rounds. I mean, in the past we've played 7, 8 rounds, so that kind of feels like a breeze for a world title. For me, it's today. It's only, I think, 1 o'clock when we're doing this interview, so it's only a 4-hour drive to Emporia, so I'll probably get there by 6 and maybe get a few holes in with the golf cart, see what I want to attack the next day. And really it's just playing the courses once each, trying to figure out what discs I'm throwing on which holes. And then, if I'm feeling uncomfortable with any certain discs, I mean, right now, off the top of my head, my buzzes, I want to get some more reps in, so maybe some field work with the buzzes. But my drivers are flying good, my fairways are flying good, so mostly learning the course, and then, a little bit of field work, making sure I feel confident with said discs in my hand so that when I get up to a certain shot, I'm feeling confident to execute.
Are you looking forward to either of the courses at Worlds more than the other?
They're very similar. Jones, Championship Jones and Emporia Country Club. Very similar type of golf and very similar to this Pickard Park. So it's going to be a lot of the same shots. It's going to be driver heavy golf. And maybe if the winds are high, going super overstable, you might see me put some nukes and some Captain's Raptors in my bag and just try to take a little bit of distance off and make sure my discs are hyzering in bounds. But I think I'll be practicing early in the morning and then having like a long rest. And if I feel I need more rounds, then have like a sunset round and try to rest through the middle of the day and get to bed early.
Thank you, Paige. Best of luck in those final preparations for 2022 Worlds.
Thank you.
Wow, and Paige talking about hopping on the highway and just heading right to Emporia, a place she's obviously very familiar with, but still wants to get things dialed in and maybe go take a look at a few of the holes and get some of that preparation going. What do you think of that, Val?
I'm not really surprised with Paige because it's like, whatever happened today, I'm on to the next one. And we know how important she puts the World Championships on a pedestal. Watching the Fierce documentary, you see how much pressure she put on herself leading up to that event and how she grows throughout the year, what she learns, and then it all culminates at this one single tournament. And that's a make or break kind of tournament for Paige Pierce and how she feels about her year.
Yeah, and one thing that jumped out at me when she was talking about where she needed a little help or practice or things she wanted to dial in, I was just looking. She led this entire tournament with birdies. She had 21 birdies. That's even more than our winner in Kristen Tatar. She had 21 birdies out there. So when you look at her score, finishing 13 behind Kristen Tatar, but yet she had more birdies than Kristen, that tells you there's a lot of those other areas of focus that she can really go out there and make some improvements on. And she even knows where those are. But to think that she led the entire division and had more birdies than any other competitor out there, and to finish back in a tie for 5th and 13 behind our leader. There's a lot of cleanup that can be done out there, and there's no better time to do it than when you're heading down to Emporia and try and pick up your 6th world title.
It's so true. And it's always coming down to reducing the amount of errors, keeping her shots in bounds. She always talks about she's leading the out-of-bounds statistic. It's that back and forth for Paige Pierce, and if she can keep consistent, she's going to be in the running for sure.
Well, sitting 2nd in the UDisc rankings right now, and we know the ratings, the rankings, the statistics, none of that matters when you're heading into the World Championships. It's what you're going to do over those 5 rounds. What we're going to do now, though, is check out our OTB shot of the day. It's going to be our final one for the FPO competitors this weekend. Let's take a look. We have Kristen Tatar in such a crucial moment. Not only is this a near perfect drive and shot, but the timing of it. That, to me, is just as important as the actual result of it. She checks up just past the basket. That's going to be an easy tap-in birdie. She had just come off of hole 10, where she gave up 2 strokes to Evelina. On hole 11, she had missed the putt, gave up another stroke to Evelina. So she had given up 3 strokes in the previous 2 holes, but she steps up here to hole number 12, and she piers it. Her closest competitor, Evelina, watching it, and Kristen Tatar really, from that point forward, taking control back of this tournament and then cruising on to victory. We're going to be back this afternoon. It's going to be 3:30 Central. We'll have the exciting conclusion of the MPO action. We saw what Paul Macbeth did yesterday, and also we have a front runner in Evan Smith. Can he hold on? He sits out in the lead. I guarantee you we're going to see some fireworks. For everyone out here in Des Moines, we've got Brian Earhart on the ground, Valerie Jenkins, my co-host. I'm the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you at 3:30. Thanks for watching.